Hello everyone, this is Fanfic Audiobook. Here you find original fan made audio stories.
Beyblade. You call this a four-wheel drive vehicle. Part 1. In 1996, it had been 11 years since Lin Che traveled to this world. In his previous life, he was a newly graduated software engineering graduate student. He received an offer from a large company right after graduation, but before he could officially become a programmer, he woke up and found himself traveling through time. In this life, his grandfather is the boss of a Chinese technology company, and his parents are researchers within the group. His living conditions are much better than in his previous life when he grew up in an orphanage. And Lin Che relied on the knowledge from his previous life to become a well-known child genius in China. 2 weeks ago, Lin Che's family's company reached a cooperation with Japan's Sangwo industry. His parents needed to come here for cooperation and exchanges, so Lin Che was also brought here. As soon as they moved, Lin Yuan and his wife took Lin Che and some gifts to visit their neighbors. Because they were both busy with work, they sometimes had to ask neighbors to take care of Lin Che, who was only 11 years old this year, so it was necessary to establish good relationships in advance. After visiting a circle of neighbors, only the last house was left. However, as soon as he reached the door, Lin Che heard a pleasant sound of an idling motor, and then two energetic shouts came from the yard. Charge! Charge, God of War! Go! Sonic God! Charge God of War! Sonic God of War! After hearing this, Lin Che couldn't help but turn his head to look at the house plate next to him. The three words, Xingma House, were particularly eye-catching. At this time, a fat ant also walked out of the house. After Lin Yuan and his wife explained their purpose, they smiled and said to them, "Okay, it's normal for neighbors to help each other. This is your son, so cute." The auntie smiled and rubbed Lin Che's head, then continued, "My two boys are about the same age as him, they should get along well." After saying that, the aunt shouted towards the yard, "Xiaohao, Xiaoli, stop playing. Come and meet new friends." Not long after, two little boys about his age ran into the yard, one with red hair and a baseball cap wearing backwards, and the other with blue hair wearing goggles. In their hands, they each held two mini racing cars, one red and one blue. "They are my two children, Xiaohao and Xiaoli." The aunt introduced enthusiastically. Lin Che stared at the car in the two men's arms in amazement. So, this world is the world of Beyblade. When he first arrived in Neon a few days ago, he noticed that the streets were full of Tamiya Doublestar's Mini 4WD advertisements. He didn't take it seriously at first. After all, this was the popular thing in Japan at that time. He had played with this thing in his previous life. In his previous life, he grew up in an orphanage and had watched this series and another domestic four-wheel drive car animation. He also watched his peers around him play with four-wheel drive cars. It would be a lie to say that he was not envious. His first four-wheel drive car was given to him as a reward by the headmaster after he got first place in the school in the final exam. It was the lowest equipped car in Audi's Double Diamond War Dragon four-wheel drive series, the Flying War Dragon. Although Lin Che's car had fewer configurations than other luxury cars in the same series, he still regarded it as a treasure at that time. But later on, due to the pressure of further studies, he put the car aside and kept it well. After a long time, Lin Che almost forgot about it, not to mention that 11 years had passed after he traveled through time. Now, seeing the Mi-4X4 again, memories of the past come flooding back. "What's wrong, Xiao Che?" Lin Yuan noticed his son's gaze and was a little surprised. His genius son has shown an IQ beyond his age since he was young. He has always given them peace of mind. However, sometimes he does not look like a child, which makes the couple a little worried. Now, Lin Che suddenly showed his interest in the toys that ordinary children played with, which surprised him a little. He did not care that this was actually a bit rude, and asked immediately, "Do you like this very much? How about Dad buy you one?" No need, Lin Che was ready to refuse without even thinking. His age in both lives combined was almost 30 years old. Could he really still run after a car and shout like a bunch of real kids? However, at this moment, a pleasant voice sounded in my ears. "The strongest Mini 4WD racing system has been activated. The novice reward has been issued, please check it." Lin Che raised his eyebrows. Was this the result of his golden finger being credited to his account? So he took back his words and looked at the system first. At this time, Lin Yuan had already asked the two brothers Xiaoli and Xiaohao, "Children, where did you buy your car?" "Uncle, this is not an ordinary car. Xiao Hao corrected him, this is a Mini 4WD car. It was Xiao Lai who answered Lin Yuan's question. Uncle, this Aries is not available for sale yet. This is an experimental model that Dr. Sachia of the Sachia Research Institute temporarily lent to us. Sachia Research Institute. Lin Yuan thought for a moment after hearing this. It seems that the institute has approached us for cooperation and wants to order a batch of high-strength materials to build a car. I think it shouldn't be a big problem to make a four-wheel drive car like this for you. Xiao Che, do you want one? No need, Dad. Lin Che shook his head, I can build a car myself. Really? That's great. We can play together in the future. Xiao Hao said excitedly when he saw that his new friend had the same hobby as him. There is a national winter competition qualifier this weekend. Do you want to join us? Xiao Lai asked. If I can assemble my car before then, I will go, said Lin Che. It seems like they will have a good relationship in the future. The father of the Xingma brothers said with a smile. Then please take care of me in the future. Lin Yuan said. After saying goodbye to the Xingma family, Lin Che followed his parents back to the house next door. After dinner, he returned to his room. Lin Che called out the system. In the system interface, under a silver dragon head logo, there are 4 modules, namely Teaching, Task, Backpack, Mall. There was a red exclamation mark on the backpack column. Lin Che clicked on it and saw the system's novice gift pack. After the switch was turned on, a series of prompt sounds rang out. The host's physical fitness has been improved to the elite level of the same age, and will grow with the host's physical development. Yi Zhang Su Ju De Ji Li Shui Ping Ti Sheng Dao Su Ju De Qian Shi Dian Feng Shi Qi, 2016 Yen 6 U8 Re 1800. Get professional courses, Introduction to Aerodynamics, and get rewards after completing the course. Obtained the prototype of the War Dragon, Flying War Dragon. The original design of the Flying Dragon has been loaded into the teaching module. After Lin Che received the model car of the Flying Dragon, a handsome four-wheel drive car appeared in Lin Che's hands. The streamlined silver body is embellished with red and blue patterns. The golden dragon head logo on the front of the car shines brightly. The rear of the car is covered with dragon wing-shaped armor, and the rear wheel covers are each decorated with dragon claws. The whole car looks like a giant dragon ready to fly, and it looks majestic. Seeing this, Lin Che couldn't help but complain. This is clearly the world of the Shuangxing animation, why is your double diamond car joining in the fun? Although Lin Che in his previous life no longer played with four-wheel drive cars, he also knew that the War Dragon four-wheel drive series of cars belonged to the four-wheel drive car series of Audi, a domestic toy manufacturer, and Double Star was a famous model company in Japan. The company Audi started out by copying Double Star's four-wheel drive vehicles. The Zonlong four-wheel drive series was later designed by Audi itself. Lin Che played with the prototype car in his hand and found that the only useful thing in this car was the body, that is, the shell. The other parts were just for show. The chassis was like a brick, and even the wheels were completely fixed. So, accessories still need to be purchased in the mall. Lin Che curiously clicked on the system's mall module. Unlike what he expected, there were no accessories options in the mall. Instead, there were courses in various subjects, including the Introduction to Aerodynamics that came with the Novice Gift Pack, and there were also follow-up aerodynamics courses. In order to purchase these things, one needs a system currency called honor points. Moreover, as Lin Che slowly browsed through the things in the mall, the initial courses such as aerodynamics and materials science were okay, but the later courses such as high-precision lithography machines, artificial intelligence underlying code compilation, controlled nuclear fusion technology, and anti-gravity technology made Lin Che dumbfounded. Is this thing really a four-wheel drive system? Lin Che was shocked in his heart. What is this honor value? The host can obtain honor points when participating in various four-wheel drive competitions and winning places. The specific amount will be determined by a comprehensive evaluation of the host's ranking, the value of the competition, the strength of the opponent, etc. The system explained to Lin Che very considerately. Then what should I do with the parts of my modified car? Lin Che couldn't help but ask. You can purchase standard accessories from the outside world or make them yourself. After the host completes the courses in the mall, some special accessories will also be given as gifts. After some exploration, Lin Che understood the operating mode of this system. He could strengthen his four-wheel drive vehicle by learning knowledge in the mall. Then, he could participate in competitions with the strengthened four-wheel drive vehicle, gain honor points to unlock new courses, thus completing a cycle. Now, the first thing he had to do was to complete the Introduction to Aerodynamics course that came with the beginner's gift package. Lin Che clicked into the teaching module and entered the course. He then found himself entering a virtual space. The system also introduced him. Welcome to the virtual learning space, where time is slowed down 10 times and you can exit and return to the real world at any time. Lin Che began teaching the introductory course, Aerodynamics. At first, Lin Che felt that he might need some time to adapt. After all, the last time he had received such serious professional courses was when he was in college in his previous life. After graduation, he was busy with work, not to mention after traveling through time. However, after studying for one lesson, Lin Che found that he was able to keep up with the progress. Then he remembered that the system had raised his IQ level to the peak level of his previous life. At the moment before the end of the college entrance examination, he had achieved the feat of getting 650 points in the college entrance examination and being admitted to a 985 university without any cram school. His level of intelligence could be said to be far beyond ordinary people, if not outstanding. Now this course is not very difficult, so he finds it relatively easy to learn. Moreover, in the system space, he would not feel tired at all when studying. After studying for 72 consecutive hours in the system space, Lin Che began his graduation assessment, which was to increase the speed of the flying dragon by more than 10% by adjusting various parameters of the body of the flying dragon and reducing wind resistance. When Lin Che finally completed the assessment, the simulation speed of the flying war dragon was successfully improved by 12% compared to before the adjustment, and he obtained an A+ settlement score. Congratulations to the host for completing the introductory course of Aerodynamics. According to the settlement score, the special accessories and pressure sensors have been distributed to the backpack. Please check them. After Lin Che exited the system space, it was already the next morning. After waking up, Lin Che found that the body of the flying war dragon in his hand had been adjusted according to the design he had made during the assessment. Now, the only thing missing from the completion of the entire car was a chassis equipped with various accessories. So, after a whole day of torture at the Neon Elementary School, Lin Che returned home and immediately took his pocket money and went next door to find the Shingma brothers who were planning to go out to play with cars. Ake, is there anything wrong? Xiao Lai asked. I want to buy some parts to assemble my car, but I don't know where to go, so I came to you. Lin Che said. Really? Has your car been loaded? Do you want to compare? Xiao Hao at the side became excited when he heard this and asked. My car still needs some time to adjust, but I should be able to catch up with the race on Sunday, said Lin Che. Then come with us. We are planning to go to the uncle's house to buy parts. Xiao Lai invited. Lin Che followed the two brothers to a store called Zuo Sheng Model Shop. A little girl wearing a baseball cap and an old man at the counter seemed to be very familiar with them. When they saw the two brothers, they immediately greeted them. Xiao Lai and Xiao Hao, you are here. Afterwards, the two of them quickly noticed Lin Che who was following behind the two brothers, and asked curiously, who is this? Uncle Zuo Sheng, Xiaochen, this is our new neighbor, Lin Che from China. He wants to buy some parts to modify his car. Xiaoli said. Hello, my name is Jun Sagami. Perhaps because Lin Che was very handsome and could easily make people feel good about him, Xiao Chun who was behind the counter came out and said to Lin Che. Hello. Lin Che responded with a smile. The two brothers, who argued that a woman would only slow down the speed of my car, did not give Lin Che a chance to continue talking to Xiao Chun, and immediately pushed Lin Che to the parts area. By the way, Che, I haven't asked you yet. What kind of car do you plan to make? After arriving at the parts area, Xiao Lai asked while looking at the dazzling array of parts racks. As for me, I'm planning to make a super high-speed express car. Lin Che took down a blue and silver high-speed motor and a high-speed gear with the smallest gear ratio from the shelf. Hearing this, Xiao Hao came over and patted Lin Che's shoulder excitedly, then said, that's right, speed is the most important thing about mini racing. Don't learn from my brother, his car runs so slowly, what's the point of being able to turn a corner? However, Xiao Lai couldn't help but say after seeing the motor and gears that Lin Che had chosen, your choice of parts is a bit too extreme. This kind of gear with the smallest gear ratio is often used with a high torque motor to make up for the lack of top speed. However, if this kind of gear is used with the high-speed motor you chose, the torque is too small. It will be very uncomfortable to perform on curves and slopes. Even Xiao Hao's charge god of war would not choose such an extreme combination. That's true. Xiao Hao nodded after hearing what Xiao Lai said, then took another pack of gears from the shelf and handed it to Lin Che. Let's use this one. This is what I often use. Although this gear won't greatly increase the speed, it's not as extreme as my brother said. No need. Lin Che shook his head, put away the parts he had chosen, and then picked out accessories such as ultra-lightweight wheels, large-diameter metal guide wheels, etc. Seeing this, Xiao Lai stopped trying to persuade him. Newcomers are all like this, very stubborn. Only after they fail in a race will they slowly adjust themselves. This is also one of the fun of mini racing. However, Xiao Hao began to have doubts after seeing the large diameter guide wheel chosen by Lin Che. Aren't you going to build a super high-speed express train? This large diameter metal guide wheel will add unnecessary weight. Because a secret weapon I made requires this kind of guide wheel. Lin Che said with a smile. Secret weapon? Xiao Hao and Xiao Lai asked curiously. You'll know when the race comes this weekend. Lin Che finally picked out 3S1 chassis. Because the dragon head and phoenix tail of the war dragon were integrated, the chassis needed to be polished before it could be used, so Lin Che chose to buy a few more as backup. After the Shingma brothers had chosen their accessories, the three of them said goodbye to Sakami and his daughter together. After returning home, Lin Che couldn't wait to start assembling the parts of the war dragon, starting with polishing the chassis. When his car was half loaded, Lin Yuan's voice came from outside the door. Xiao Che, come out for a moment and see what daddy brought you. After Lin Che parked the car and walked out of the room, he found that Lin Yuan was directing a large group of workers to assemble a 3-layer runway in the yard that completely circled his house. Lin Che was dumbfounded. How is it, son? Do you like it? Lin Yuan asked with a smile while touching Lin Che's head. Lin Che rarely showed the hobbies that a normal child should have, so Lin Yuan naturally strongly supported him. After get off work today, he made a special trip to the Sachia Research Institute and spent a large amount of money to buy this set of runway. Although sometimes Lin Che behaved too talented and made Lin Yuan lose a lot of the joy of being a father, Lin Yuan was really good to Lin Che. This made Lin Che, who was an orphan in his previous life, feel the warmth of family for the first time. By the way, Dr. Sachia said that all the prototypes of the Ares cars like Xiaoli and Xiaohao have been sent out, but if you want, he said he can customize a brand new racing car for you. Lin Yuan said. No need, Dad. My car is almost done. Lin Che shook his head and rejected Lin Yuan's proposal. The system's honor value only counts the honors obtained by the vehicles he made and modified himself. Moreover, he was confident that the four-wheel drive car he made would not be worse than the one produced by Sachia Research Institute. Okay. Lin Yuan nodded. The noise of the runway being installed here quickly attracted the Shingma brothers next door, who looked at the luxurious runway under construction with envy, and Lin Yuan also smiled at the two little guests. How about it? Do you want to try running? Lin Yuan asked with a smile. Is it really possible? The two brothers immediately showed surprised expressions. Of course, you can come and play with Xiaoch often in the future. Lin Yuan said. Great. Let's go back and get the car. The two brothers rushed back home. Not long after, they came here again with their respective racing cars. When they came back, the runway had been installed. Che, don't you want to try your car? Xiao Lai asked when he saw that Lin Che didn't seem to have any intention of test driving the car. There are still some parts of my car that are not completed, you guys can play with them first. Lin Che said. The impatient Xiao Hao was the first to put the charging god of war on the track. In the blink of an eye, a white whirlwind rushed out and ran across a 80-meter-long straight road from the front yard to the backyard lawn in the blink of an eye. You run really fast. Lin Yuan couldn't help but exclaim in admiration. Of course, uncle, my charge is good at speed. Xiao Hao said proudly as he followed. However, before he could be happy for long, the continuous bends in the backyard gave him a wake-up call. The extremely lightweight body of the charge god of war and the body design with no downforce in order to minimize wind resistance caused it to spin and fly off the runway at the third bend. Ah, my charging god of war. Seeing this, Xiao Hao hurried over to pick up the car. Seeing this, Xiao Lai at the side said, what's the point of just rushing forward? The real speed is to go fast on the curve. After saying that, Xiao Lai put his Sonic Warrior onto the runway. On the long straight road at the starting point, although the Sonic God of War had a better start than the Charge God of War due to the strong acceleration brought by the high torque motor, it was indeed inferior to the Charge God of War in terms of top speed. However, after entering the backyard, in the continuous high-speed curves in the backyard, the sonic god of war turned into a red stream of light, and his quick and stable cornering skills perfectly interpreted what the Prince of Corners is. After passing the first level curve, the sonic god of war came to a 45-degree steep slope. Under the strong power brought by the high-torque motor, the sonic god of war reached the second-level runway without even slowing down much. The runway on the second level consists of 5 straight tracks of approximately 40 meters connected by U-shaped bends. On the runway on the second level, the performance of the sonic god of war became mediocre. After all, the ordinary high-torque motor ultimately limits the top speed of the car. Seeing this, Xiao Hao became more excited and said sarcastically, "What's the fun of playing with a car that runs so slowly?" Xiao Lai naturally wouldn't indulge him, and immediately retorted, "Your car can't even finish the track in front of you, so what's the point of going fast in a straight line?" Lin Che was looking at the angle between the position where the charge god of war flew out of the track just now and the straight road on the second level. After some calculations, he found that if the charge god of war could use his ultimate move, it seemed that there was an angle that allowed him to fly directly from there to the second level. It's a pity that Xiao Hao hasn't yet developed the charge's ultimate move, the tornado. Without learning how to fly, the charge is far from being a match for the Sonic. Xiao Lai finally took 4 minutes and 17 seconds to complete the 800-meter lap. Xiao Hao unwillingly took the charge god of war back onto the runway. Unfortunately, this time, he flew off the runway at the same turn again. Xiao Hao, don't force it. This is a technical track, and your charge god of war is not good at this. Xiao Lai couldn't help but remind Xiao Hao when he saw that Xiao Hao was persevering in letting the charge god of war drive fast. But Meng Hao wouldn't listen to this, so, in the following time, Lin Che and Xiao Lai watched Xiao Hao picking up cars and driving them again and again in a cycle. The charging god of war failed to finish the runway all night. Seeing this, Xiao Lai also reminded Lin Che, if the configuration of your car is similar to Xiao Hao's, it will also be difficult to run on this track. No, my car has its own way of turning. Lin Che smiled mysteriously and said nothing more. That night, Lin Che successfully installed the pressure sensor he obtained after completing the Introduction to Aerodynamics course on the Flying War Dragon. Finally, he fastened the car shell, and his first car was completed. Lin Che turned on the switch under the chassis, and the pleasant sound of the motor rang out. Then, Lin Che put the car on the frame beside him, let the tires idle, warm up the motor, and run in the gears. After the system showed that the racing car was in optimal condition, Lin Che took the car downstairs, came to the front of the runway, and put the Flying War Dragon down at the starting point. In an instant, the Flying War Dragon rushed out. Because it was already very late and his parents had gone to bed, Lin Che did not choose to catch up with the race, but instead waited there with the timer in hand. After 3 minutes and 45 seconds, the Flying War Dragon returned to its original point. Lin Che caught the Flying War Dragon, turned off the switch, and smiled with satisfaction. On this track, the Flying Dragon's time was 32 seconds faster than that of the Sonic Warrior. Now, I just have to wait for the game this weekend. After returning to the room, Lin Che took another look at the Flying War Dragon on the desk before turning off the lights, thinking to himself. Time quickly came to the weekend. In the past few days, the Xingma brothers came to his house almost every day to play with cars, and the three of them became more and more familiar with each other. However, in order to maintain a sense of mystery, Lin Che never let the Flying War Dragon appear in the brothers' sight. When they asked, they would answer, "It's almost done, it will be done soon." Early in the morning of that day, Xiaoli and Xiao Hao each carried a toolbox and came to Lin Che's door to call him. Coming, Lin Che picked up the Flying War Dragon and put it in the toolbox, then went out. The three of them took the tram to the competition venue together. After arriving, Lin Che was dumbfounded when he saw the huge thing covered by the curtain. This thing is almost as big as an ordinary gymnasium, and you tell me this is a four-wheel drive track. Xiao Lai and Xiao Hao took Lin Che to the vehicle inspection station with ease. After handing their respective cars over to the official staff for inspection, they both looked at Lin Che. Lin Che smiled slightly and took out the Flying War Dragon from the toolbox. The unprecedented gorgeous shape of the Flying Dragon immediately attracted the attention of the two brothers. Is this your car? Xiao Hao asked. Yes, it's called Flying War Dragon. Lin Che said. A fighting dragon. Xiao Lai noticed the car in Lin Che's hand, which was indeed like a giant dragon ready to strike. At this time, a man came up behind the three of them. Xiao Lai, Xiao Hao. The man called the two brothers. Dr. Sachia. The two brothers turned around and saw that it was an acquaintance, so they greeted him. How's the renovation of your Aries going? If I can't make an Aries unique to you, I will take it back, said Dr. Sachia, who looks like Steve Jobs. Of course, doctor, just wait and see. Xiao Hao patted his chest and said, my charge god of war will definitely surprise you. My sonic god is the same. Xiao Lai said without giving in. Okay. Dr. Sachia nodded, but soon his eyes were attracted by the flying war dragon in Lin Che's hand. This car. Dr. Sachia's eyes lit up, and then he looked at Lin Che. Little boy, what's your name? My name is Lin Che. Lin Che responded. Lin, are you Chinese? So, you are Dr. Lin's son. Dr. Sachia responded, is this the car your father said you made independently? Yes. Lin Che nodded. Can you show it to me? Dr. Sachia asked. Of course. Lin Che handed the flying war dragon to Dr. Sachia. After Dr. Sachia took it, he carefully looked at the body configuration of the flying war dragon. Looking at the dragon head and phoenix tail connected to the body of the car, he exclaimed, what a thoughtful design. After integrating the dragon head with the body, the overall streamlined design can further reduce wind resistance compared to the Aries. What about the internal parts? What kind of car is this? Dr. Sachia returned the flying war dragon to Lin Che and then asked. This is an ultra-high-speed express car. The internal parts one chose are high-speed motors, small proportion high-speed gears, and medium-diameter ultra-lightweight wheels. Lin Che said. It's similar to Xiao Hao's charge god of war, or even more speed-oriented. Dr. Sachia said, but, with such an extreme configuration, it will be very troublesome on the curve, right? No, the flying war dragon has special cornering skills on curved roads. Lin Che said with a smile. Really? Then I'm looking forward to it. Dr. Sachia said with a smile. At this time, a helicopter flew in from the horizon and hovered above the stage not far away. On the helicopter, a handsome dark-skinned guy grabbed the zipline and jumped down. The 4WD fighter held the zipline with one hand and shouted, now, the regional preliminaries of the National 4WD Winter Competition are about to begin. The top 3 players will be able to qualify for the winter competition. Are you ready? As the 4WD fighter finished speaking, the children around him raised their hands and shouted in response. Let's take a look at the runway this time. The four-wheel drive fighter waved his hand, and the curtain covering the giant venue slowly fell down, revealing the rockery and the racetrack. That's it. It's called Dilong Cliff. It's an off-road track that completely simulates the harsh natural environment. Let's go, Ah Che, let's go to the starting point. Xiao Lai turned around and called out to Lin Che. Lin Che followed the two brothers to the starting point, where 10 racing cars were ready to go. Following the order from the four-wheel drive fighter, Lin Che put down the flying war dragon in his hand. After the start, the two Aries took the lead. Although the Sonic Aries used a high-torque motor, which had an advantage at the start, its body was slightly heavier than the Charge Aries for stability. Although the Charge Aries used a high-speed motor which did not have an advantage at the start, its ultra-lightweight body allowed it to accelerate at an extremely fast speed. Lin Che's Flying War Dragon was the second echelon following Xiao Guangcheng's Vanguard. The two Aries cars in front, after passing the starting straight track, were the first to reach the first difficulty of this track. The two Aries are leading the way. They have reached the first obstacle on this track. The Bridge of Death. 10 tracks suddenly merge into one. If you are unlucky, there will be a terrible car crash, said the four-wheel drive fighter passionately. The two Aries did not give way at all and squeezed together to pass the broken bridge. The Flying War Dragon, after accelerating, left the Vanguard behind and successfully entered the Bridge of Death. Following the two Aries is the Flying War Dragon owned by Lin Che from China. It is rapidly closing the distance with the two Aries. After the two Aries rushed out of the Bridge of Death and returned to their respective runways, the Flying War Dragon also rushed out. You're running pretty well, Aking. The two brothers were running wildly after the car. When they saw the Flying War Dragon catching up with them, Xiao Lai turned around and said to Lin Che. I don't have time to talk to you anymore. I'm leaving now. After passing the Bridge of Death, there was a straight runway that was 100 meters long. Xiao Hao rushed out first. However, what he didn't expect was that the Flying War Dragon was even faster than him. The Flying War Dragon passed the front track smoothly. It had already increased its speed to the maximum. The motor gear's entire configurations were more extreme than those of the charging god of war, allowing it to show its power on this straight line. What? Xiao Hao couldn't believe it as he looked at the flying war dragon, which accelerated almost at the same time but slowly left its charging god of war behind. The flying dragon is leading the way. Following closely behind is the charged god of war. The performance of the super speed racing car on the straight line is indeed eye-catching. Dr. Sachia, who was watching the battle from a distance, said, Xiao Hao's charged god of war focuses on speed. The ultra-light wheels, high-speed motor and small ratio gear configuration make the car's maximum speed unimaginable. At the same time, the lightweight body and flat rear wing allow the car to exert its maximum power in a straight line. And this flying war dragon pays more attention to the maximum speed in the selection of wheels, motors, and gears than Xiao Hao. At the same time, the dragon head that is completely integrated with the body can be said to reduce air resistance to a minimum, allowing the motor to perform better. However, if you use this speed to turn. Xiao Hao, I'm going first. Lin Che said before chasing the car and leaving Xiao Hao behind. I'll catch up with you in a moment. Xiao Hao replied with a look of dissatisfaction on his face. After this long straight runway, there are a series of large curves. If the car breaks apart due to running off the runway at too fast a speed, you will be eliminated regretfully. Everyone, be careful. The 4WD fighter warned loudly. It can be said that the charging god of war was not so lucky when he came to the bend. Although this set of bends was not as difficult as the track at Lin Che's house, the charging god of war's cornering skills were really poor. At an extremely high speed, after entering the bend, he just crashed into the wall of the track. The continuous collisions inevitably affected his speed, and Xiao Lai's Sonic God of War took the opportunity to catch up. Xiao Lai's Sonic God of War relied on his superb cornering skills to catch up. Exclaimed the four-wheel drive fighter. Brother Xiaoli's Ares focuses on corners. The tail wing of the Sonic Ares is upright. When the wind passes through the car body, there will be a downward force to improve the grip, so as to make the cornering stable. At the same time, although the large diameter guide wheel is heavy, the increased contact area with the track can make the Sonic Ares smoother when cornering. The speed reduced in the corner can be recovered faster under the drive of the powerful high-torque motor. I caught up. Xiao Lai said with a confident smile. However, at this moment, Xiao Hao was shocked. Xiao Lai noticed his brother's expression and couldn't help asking, Xiao Hao, what's wrong? How did Ache's car turn the corner just now? Xiao Hao, who was the closest to the flying war dragon just now, was a little dumbfounded after seeing the way the flying war dragon turned. Ache. Xiao Lai just noticed that Lin Che and the flying dragon had left them far behind. He couldn't help but show a look of shock. How did he do it? In Xiao Lai's opinion, the flying war dragon, whose parts selection is even more extreme than that of the charging war god, should not be able to have such a high speed on a curve. After all, this race was the debut of the Ares developed by Dr. Sachia, and more shots were given to the two Ares. Therefore, almost no one saw the way the war dragon turned just now, except Xiao Hao, who was the closest. The flying war dragon passed the curve at an incredible speed. Let's see how he did it. The four-wheel drive fighter said belatedly, and the image of the flying war dragon passing the curve just now appeared on the big screen. The flying war dragon's speed when entering a corner is faster than that of the charging war god, so when the guide wheel on one side hits the track wall, the shaking of the car body is more violent than that of the charging war god. However, at this moment, the dragon wing on the rear side of the flying war dragon's body suddenly lifted up. The sudden change in wind resistance brought downward downforce, helping the flying war dragon to stabilize the body. At the same time, the speed did not decrease much. The posture of the flying war dragon flying through the curve was like a giant dragon flying over an obstacle, gorgeous and elegant. Dr. Sachia, who saw this scene, couldn't help but exclaimed, what a creative design. When turning, the dragon wing-like tail wing on one side is raised to change the wind resistance and gain downforce to stabilize the body. In addition, the four large diameter guide wheels at the dragon head and phoenix tail can improve the stability of the corners as much as possible without sacrificing speed. I just don't know how he can accurately control the opening and closing of the tail wing. Is this the unique way of cornering that Ache mentioned for his car? Xiao Lai also saw the whole process of the flying war dragon cornering on the big screen not far away, and an uncontrollable desire to explore arose in his heart. At this time, the flying war dragon running in the front also arrived at the next difficulty. After Lin Che and Fatian Zonlong passed a series of technical turns, they felt a strong gust of wind. Okay. Next is the next level, the Valley of the Wind, which simulates a canyon terrain with howling winds. Under the terrible gales, each contestant's car will be put to a severe test. Shouted the 4WD fighter. Lin Che glanced at the super large blower that was whirring not far away, and raised his hand to block the strong wind that was blowing straight at his face. If his physical fitness had not been strengthened by the system, with Lin Che's physical fitness from staying at home every day, he probably wouldn't have been able to stand steadily in the strong wind, let alone run in the wind. The flying war dragon tore through the storm like a sharp sword, and its speed did not decrease at all in the storm. The same is true for the two Aries that have reached this stage. The strong winds that can make ordinary four-wheel drive vehicles unable to move are not insurmountable obstacles for the fully covered rail vehicles with ultra-low wind resistance brought by their streamlined bodies. The other cars were not so lucky. The strong wind blew almost all the remaining cars off the track. A few unlucky ones had their cars disintegrated on the spot and lost their qualifications. Only Cheng's Vanguard managed to pass this level thanks to its pre-weighted car body. After this stage, there's the terrifying uphill track. The remaining contestants, please try your best. Lin Che, who was the first to arrive at this level, looked at the 45-degree uphill slope that was 100 meters long and couldn't help but frowning. If his flying war dragon really had any weakness, it would probably be this super large uphill slope. The ratio of his motor and gears and the torque were really too low. Lin Che has traveled through time for so long, and although he still remembers the general plot of this animation which he watched as a child in his previous life, he has almost forgotten the specific track conditions except for some classic episodes. If he had known in advance that this race would have such a big uphill slope, he would definitely prepare a high-torque motor. The flying war dragon was climbing up the slope with difficulty, and Xiao Lai and Xiao Hao's two war gods also took the opportunity to catch up. Che, why did your car suddenly become so slow? Xiao Hao asked after catching up with Lin Che. Is it because the choice of motor and gear is too extreme, resulting in a serious lack of torque? Xiao Lai took a look at the flying war dragon's difficult climbing posture and understood. The two Aries were not greatly affected on this uphill slope. Although their speed was reduced, they were still moving forward steadily. Lin Che glanced at the charge war god, which was slightly behind. Although they both had a motor-gear ratio that only focused on speed, the charge war god's body was very light, so the torque requirement for the motor when climbing a slope was also very low. Lin Che's flying war dragon, although it used ultra-light wheels and the body itself was as light as possible, the dragon head and phoenix tail that were integrated with the body naturally could not be polished too thin like the charge war god in order to ensure strength. At the same time, the pressure sensor that controlled the opening of the dragon wings and the weight of the large diameter guide wheel that went with it naturally made it impossible to go into battle as lightly as the charge war god. The two Aries caught up with the flying dragon that had been leading the way on this uphill climb. The 4WD fighter shouted, "So, the flying dragon's weakness is climbing hills. By the way, how did you manage to be so fast on the curves? How did you control that dragon wing-like tail?" Xiao Lai asked curiously. I installed a pressure sensor device of my own on the flying war dragon. When the guide wheel contacts the edge of the track during a turn, the pressure will trigger a mechanism inside the car, and the dragon wing on the same side will rise, increasing the downhill force to stabilize the body and counteracting the centrifugal force when turning. Lin Che explained to Xiao Lai while climbing the hill. What a genius design. Xiao Lai praised, but this device is not light, it's hard to drive that weight on this uphill road with the torque of your motor. Never mind, brother, Che, I'm leaving first. After running uphill, there was a long straight road, and the charge god of war rushed out. Go. Charge god of war. After Xiao Lai finished climbing this uphill section, he looked back at the flying dragon, who still had more than 10 meters to go to finish the uphill run. I won't wait for you, Che, go ahead, Sonic god of war. Haha, you two better take advantage of this time to create some distance, otherwise I will overtake you in a little while. Lin Che waved his hand, and then after watching the two Aries speeding out, he looked back at the flying war dragon that was still struggling to climb the hill, and thought to himself, how about I try to howl too? The thought flashed through his mind and Lin Che suppressed it. Forget it, it's too embarrassing. Charge. Vanguard. Just as the flying war dragon climbed the slope and was about to accelerate again, Cheng's Vanguard caught up behind Lin Che. It seems that we have been delayed for too long. Lin Che thought to himself. At the same time, the flying war dragon returned to the flat ground and began to accelerate again. The remaining 4 cars have all made it over the ramp. Next up is the most challenging part of this race. Ghost Gate Waterfall. This is a downhill slope washed by a waterfall. Under the impact of the waterfall, Once a car flies off the track, it will be difficult for it to continue the race. The first to arrive here were the two Aries. Go! Sonic the Hedgehog. The two cars rushed into the waterfall amid the brothers' shouts, but in a short while, the two cars flew off the track under the impact of the waterfall. Charge Aries, Sonic Aries. Upon seeing this, the two brothers rushed over to save the car without hesitation. While catching their respective Aries, they were also badly beaten to a pulp. What a pity. Can Brother Shingma's Aries still continue the race? Asked the four-wheel drive fighter with some concern. The Flying Dragon and the Vanguard also arrived in front of the waterfall. Ah Cheng stopped the Vanguard and it seemed that he was going to change to rain tires with greater friction. What about Lin Che's Flying Dragon? Did he rush straight in? The weight that had caused the Flying War Dragon so much trouble on the previous uphill road turned out to be an advantage at this level. Moreover, on the previous downhill road, the Flying War Dragon's speed was once again increased to the limit. The Flying War Dragon passed this level effortlessly like a sharp blade that splits flowing water, and headed towards the finish line. Reach the finish line. Amid the passionate shouts of the 4WD fighters, the Flying Dragon rushed across the finish line and stopped in front of the barrier. The champion of this regional qualifying competition is Lin Che and his Flying Dragon. Congratulations to the host for winning the Mini 4WD National Winter Regional Qualifiers Championship. The honor value of this game is being calculated. After Lin Che's Flying War Dragon passed the finish line, the Vanguard, which was equipped with rain tires and counterweights, also arrived at the finish line not long after. Dr. Sachiya in the stands was a little sad. This competition was supposed to be a stage set up for the Aries, but now the two Aries might not even be able to complete the competition. Is this the end of the competition? Are the two Aries that we have placed high hopes on coming to an end? It's still very early. At this moment, the two brothers shouted in full force. The two brothers, covered in dirt, returned to the track with their Aries. The body of the Charge Aries was full of cracks, and the left front was completely shattered. However, the two brothers did not give up. They put the two cars together, used the relatively intact Sonic Aries to bring the Charge Aries back to the track, and plunged into the waterfall. The Charge and Sonic are back on the track. The 4WD fighter shouted excitedly, can they succeed this time? After the two cars were merged into one, their combined weight withstood the impact of the waterfall and they successfully reached the finish line at the same time. The top three of this competition have been decided. The 4WD fighter announced, the champion is Lin Che and his Flying Dragon, the runner-up is Xiao Guangcheng and his Vanguard, and the third place is the Sonic God of War and the Charge God of War of the Shingma brothers. They will advance to the winter tournament in a week. Thank you for your hard work. Lin Che looked at the two brothers who were panting and said after handing each of them a can of juice. Xiao Hao took the juice, opened it and drank it quickly. Thank you. Xiao Lai thanked Lin Che after he finished drinking. Congratulations, you won the championship in your first competition. I let you win this time, but I will definitely win back in the final competition. Xiao Hao became full of energy again after replenishing his energy. Okay, keep going. Lin Che said. Ah. Xiao Hao stood there in a daze. Generally speaking, when he threatened others, they would also fight back against him. Now, he suddenly met someone like Lin Che who had no emotional fluctuations, so he naturally felt uncomfortable. Che, you can't be so lacking in fighting spirit. Xiao Hao said loudly with his fist clenched after he came to his senses. How can I not have the fighting spirit? Lin Che was a little amused. He would certainly not argue with a kid like Xiao Hao. A passionate, lively and active kid like Xiao Hao was really fun to watch. Never mind. I will definitely win next time. Xiao Hao said after hitting his palm. After a simple award ceremony, Lin Che took his medals and set off on the journey home with his two brothers. However, just as they walked out of the stadium, the three of them saw Dr. Sachiya who had been waiting there for a long time. You all performed very well. Please keep up the good work in the finals, said Dr. Sachiya. Okay. Xiao Hao was the first to respond. Dr. Sachiya, why are you waiting for us here? Xiao Lai asked curiously. I'm here to find Lin Che, said Dr. Sachiya. Looking for me? Lin Che raised his head curiously. To be honest, Dr. Sachiya's face, which looked exactly like Steve Jobs, was quite distracting. Yes, your car is very creative. I would like to invite you to visit my institute if you have the chance, said Dr. Sachiya. Okay, if I have the chance, I will go. Lin Che said. How about next week? Said Dr. Sachiya. It is good. Lin Che nodded and accepted the invitation, and Xiao Lai and Xiao Hao also asked to go together, and Dr. Sachiya readily agreed. Lin Che was looking forward to visiting Dr. Sachia's research institute. After all, that was where almost all of the protagonist group's cars were born, and Lin Che also had a good impression of Dr. Sachia. Although in the later part of the plot, the protagonists' racing cars were almost all designed by themselves, and Dr. Sachia only provided a venue and technical support, which seemed useless, but this was also what Dr. Sachia pursued. What he values is not how fast the racing car he makes can run, but the possibilities that the racing car can have in the hands of different children. This can be seen from the fact that the cars he gave to Xiaoli and Xiaohao are both prototypes of the Ares, which is completely opposite to his mortal enemy, Dr. Great God. Dr. Sachia could have directly made two Ares with more powerful performance and given them directly to the brothers. With his technology, it would be easy for him to make a car with performance far superior to the current Charge Ares and Sonic Ares. This competition would naturally become a one-man show for the Ares. The original Ares made by Dr. Agami can be said to have killed the two Ares modified by the Shingma brothers. There is no reason why Dr. Sachia could not do this, but he still left the evolution of the racing car to Xiaoli and Xiaohao themselves. Therefore, since he had already made plans to have fun with the four-wheel drive car and unlock the black technology in the future, Lin Che would naturally not refuse the help of such a knowledgeable senior. After Lin Che returned home, he immediately disassembled the flying war dragon into parts, then recalled the process of today's competition and thought about what could be improved. The first is the problem of insufficient power when going uphill. Lin Che does not want to experience the dilemma that Futian Zonlong encountered when going uphill today again, but Lin Che really has no better solution for the time being. The problem now is that the motor he is currently using is already the best high-speed motor available on the market. Xiaohao's Charge God of War also uses this model. In addition, there are also the high-torque motor used by Xiaolai and another balanced motor that takes into account both speed and torque. Replace the motor. Lin Che rejected this idea as soon as it came up. Now Lin Che's design concept for the Flying War Dragon is to increase the speed to the limit first, and then slowly solve the problems caused by the extreme design. After all, the Flying War Dragon is designed as a super high-speed express car. Sacrificing the speed on the flat ground for the sake of going uphill is not worth it. After all, except for some extreme runways, there will not be too many uphill slopes. For this reason, replacing it with a high-torque motor with insufficient maximum speed is not worth it. As for the balanced motor, forget it. Being good at everything is another way of saying it, not very good at anything. Lin Che is unable to reduce weight as much as possible to reduce the load on the motor like Xiaohao did. He has reduced all the weight that can be reduced on the Flying War Dragon. Although some parts are heavy, they cannot be removed, such as the dragon head and phoenix tail connected to the body, and the large diameter guide wheels and pressure sensors used when cornering. If weight reduction is really desired, it can only be achieved by rebuilding the body with new materials of the same quality and higher strength. Therefore, Lin Che turned his attention to the course called Introduction to Materials Science in the System Mall. The price of this course is 15 honor points. If I can successfully win the winter competition, the points will probably be enough to buy this new course. Lin Che calculated that he would get 6.25 honor points just by winning the preliminaries. With the basic 5 points plus the bonuses provided by Xiaoli, Xiaohao and Cheng, he might get more in the main competition. Lin Che replaced the somewhat worn and deformed chassis with a new one, and then reassembled the Flying War Dragon. The next day, after school, Lin Che went home with Xiaolai and Xiaohao. Xiaohao was ready to challenge his family's running track again. However, what Lin Che did not expect was that Dr. Sachia actually showed up at his house and had a great chat with Lin Yuan in the living room. They did not agree on a specific time yesterday, but he did not expect that Dr. Sachia was even more anxious than him. Xiao Che, you're back. Lin Yuan saw Lin Che coming home. Dad, Dr. Sachia. Lin Che greeted. You're finally back. Dr. Sachia came here specially to see you. Lin Yuan said with a smile. Nice to meet you again, Lin Che, said Dr. Sachia. I didn't expect you to come here. Lin Che said. Ha ha ha, I forgot to agree on a specific time with you yesterday, so I had to come and disturb you without any hesitation. Dr. Sachia said. No, I hope you don't mind the trouble. Lin Che said. Then I'll leave the child in your care today, Doctor. Lin Yuan said with a smile. Che. Xiaohao's voice came from outside the door. The two brothers who went home to get the car arrived. Is it Xiaoli and Xiaohao? That's great. We don't have to call them again. Dr. Sachia said. Xiao Lai, Xiao Hao and Lin Che got into Dr. Sachia's car and went to Dr. Sachia's research institute. After arriving at the research institute, Xiaoli and Xiao Hao looked around like curious babies. Is this the place where the god of war was born? Xiao Lai's eyes flashed with curiosity. Xiao Hao discovered that the machine in the institute seemed to be making a brand new racing car, so he asked, Doctor, what is this car? This is the new car I'm developing, said Dr. Sachia. Upon hearing this, Lin Che rushed over. On top of the machine, a silver-gray fully covered rail vehicle was being sprayed with a layer of flame paint. Lin Che thought, triangle arrow. Is Dr. Sachia already developing this car at this time? Soon, the flame painting on the triangle arrow was completed, and the machine was turned on. Xiao Hao came forward and said, This car is so handsome, what's its name? As for the name, the owner of this car hasn't named it yet, said Dr. Sachia. Dr. Sachia, there is a pair of brothers visiting outside the door. At this time, a researcher in the institute reported. What a coincidence you came here. Let's bring them in, said Dr. Sachia. Soon, the researcher brought the brothers to the institute. The brothers looked a little dusty, with some dirt and dust on their trouser legs. The taller brother had a tie on his forehead and his long hair tied into a ponytail at the back of his head. He looked calm and restrained, while the younger brother looked a little jumpy. Yingyulong, you came at the right time. Your car has just been made according to your requirements. However, you need to adjust the specific configuration yourself. Dr. Sachia said to the brothers who came in. Okay, thank you. The young man called Eagle Feather Dragon nodded and took the car from Dr. Sachia. Are you the owner of this car? Xiao Hao came over. Would you like to compete with my charge god of war? Before Ying Yulong could answer, perhaps because of the repulsion between the hot-blooded and stupid younger brother of the calm older brother, Ying Yulong's younger brother Joromaru directly said, My brother's car is much better than yours. Who knows yet if we compete against each other? Xiao Hao said. Joromaru. Xiao Hao. The two elder brothers each pulled their troublesome younger brother back. Xiao Lai then said, Didn't you hear what Dr. Sachia said just now? His car hasn't been debugged yet. However, Ying Yulong said, If you want to compete, that's fine. It just so happens that I brought a chassis that has been preliminarily debugged today, and my triangular arrow also needs to go through the competition to see if there are any problems. After saying that, Ying Yulong took out a chassis full of accessories and installed the car body he had just obtained on it. Are you going to call it Triangle Arrow? What a good name. Dr. Sachia nodded with satisfaction, then looked at Lin Che and the others. In that case, how about we all run together and try it? I have no objection. Lin Che shrugged and said. Okay. Let me show you how powerful my charge god of war is. Xiao Hao said, and couldn't wait to take out the charge god of war, while Xiao Lai also took out his sonic god of war. You all look very energetic. Looking at everyone who was full of energy, Dr. Sachia smiled and took everyone to a runway outside the laboratory. The moment they saw the runway, bursts of exclamations rang out. How amazing! Xiao Hao and Joromaru looked at the runway in front of them with their mouths wide open. This is a very special runway, consisting of two parts. The first half is a runway composed of various straight lines and curves. This part of the runway has a slope of about 20 degrees and slowly climbs to the height of a 3-story building. After reaching the top, it is a completely straight and long downhill slope. After this downhill slope, there is a 90-degree curve, and then it returns to the starting point for a circle. Xiao Hao immediately cast his eyes towards the extra long straight downhill track, and said with a proud smile, Dr. Sachia, is this track prepared for my charge god of war? With such a long straight line, my charge god of war will definitely come in first place. Lin Che looked at the runway and his mouth twitched. Xiao Hao was half right. This runway was indeed designed for a car, but this car was not his charging god of war. Lin Che looked back at Yingyulong and noticed the confident smile on his lips. At this time, Yingyulong also noticed Lin Che's gaze. The two looked at each other and then silently went to the starting point. Dr. Sachia temporarily acted as the referee. After he gave the order, the 4 people let go at the same time and the 4 cars rushed out. After the Sonic God of War took a brief lead thanks to the starting advantage of its high-torque motor, it was quickly surpassed by the charging God of War, which had reached its maximum speed. Lin Che's Flying War Dragon and Eagle Feather Dragon's Triangle Arrow were slowly accelerating from behind. Your car doesn't look too impressive. Xiao Hao said proudly upon seeing this. Arriving at the first bend, the charged God of War forced his way through the bend, but was caught up by the Sonic God of War, who was temporarily behind, while the Flying War Dragon and Triangle Arrow also entered the bend at this time. After entering the corner, the guide wheel of the Flying War Dragon was under pressure, and the dragon wing on one side opened, allowing the downforce to stabilize the body of the car that was swaying left and right. The cornering method of the Triangle Arrow was not much better than that of the Charging God of War, both of which emphasized the word reckless. But compared to the Charge God of War swaying left and right on the curve, which could fly off the runway at any time, the Triangle Arrow is crashing around, with its wheels tightly biting the road, giving people a feeling that, don't look at me crashing around, but I am very stable when cornering. However, this way of cornering does reduce the speed to some extent. The Flying War Dragon has taken the lead in passing the continuous bends and is chasing after the two war gods. The Triangle Arrow temporarily fell to the last. It seems that although both are super high-speed trains, my Charge God of War is still more powerful. Your car has the configuration of a super high-speed train, but it has such a heavy body. How can it run fast? Xiao Hao couldn't help but say when he saw the triangular arrow fell at the end. Joromaru was immediately unhappy that his brother was looked down upon, and he shouted, "My brother's car is definitely better than yours, just wait and see. Brother, you must catch up with him." When Ying Yulong heard this, he just smiled faintly and said, "Now is not the time for the triangle arrow to be truly effective." The four cars finished the long uphill section in the first half of the track one after another and reached the highest point. The Charge War God and the Flying War Dragon reached the highest point almost at the same time and entered the downhill section in the second half of the track. Both cars flew a distance first and then landed back on the runway. The same was true for the Sonic War God. However, when the triangle arrow that was at the back arrived, it was perfectly sticking to the runway and entering the downhill. On the straight downhill, the scene of the Charging God of War leaving the others far behind as Xiao Hao had expected did not appear. After the speed of his Charging God of War reached a certain level, it stopped accelerating, but this speed was definitely not the maximum speed that the Charging God of War should have, and the Flying War Dragon took the opportunity to leave it behind. Charging God of War, what's wrong with you? Keep speeding up. Xiao Hao was a little anxious as he watched the Charging God of War being overtaken by the Flying War Dragon. Xiao Lai, on the other hand, carefully looked at the posture of the Charging God of War on the downhill road and found that the Charging God of War was shaking constantly at this moment. Although the four wheels were rotating at high speed, they were not completely close to the road surface. But before he could take a closer look, a black streak of light flashed past the Charge God of War, and the triangular arrow surpassed the Sonic God of War and the Charge God of War at an incredible speed, chasing straight towards the Flying War Dragon in the front. How is it possible? When did it accelerate to such a speed? Xiao Lai said in shock as he looked at the speeding triangular arrow. It's because of the downhill force. At this time, Dr. Sachia explained to the brothers, the Ares uses a streamlined body design to reduce air resistance, so that the car's speed can be increased in a short time and can achieve the best performance on flat ground. However, the triangle arrow is a car design that focuses on downhill force. The body with a low front and a high back can allow the car to obtain a downward force during the movement, thereby improving the grip of the tires and allowing the power to be fully exerted. Lin Che's Flying War Dragon also has a similar design, so on this kind of steep downhill, the maximum speed of their cars will be even faster. The triangle arrow quickly caught up with the Flying War Dragon. The two vehicles were running side by side, and the triangle arrow was gradually overtaking. Lin Che had no good solution for this. The design of the Flying War Dragon did not increase the downhill force to the extreme like the triangle arrow. The fact that the Flying War Dragon took off briefly when it entered the downhill slope before was the best proof. If it had not accumulated enough advantage by taking advantage of the triangle arrow's weakness of long acceleration time, the Flying War Dragon would have been surpassed by the triangle arrow by now. If Lin Che could spread the wings of the Flying War Dragon now, he would be able to temporarily increase the downhill force. However, his Flying War Dragon does not have a remote control device like the original God of War. Ha ha ha, I told you my brother's car is the best. Joromaru laughed with his hands on his hips. Now, there is only one last obstacle left on this track. Lin Che cast his eyes on the last 90-degree sharp turn on the downhill. At this speed, it is almost impossible to pass such a sharp turn if the car is not very skilled. The Flying War Dragon and the triangle arrow arrived at this curve almost at the same time. The moment the guide wheel of the Flying War Dragon touched the track wall, the dragon wings on the same side opened up. The changed downforce pressed the flying war dragon, which was ready to take off, firmly onto the track. The friction between the large diameter metal guide wheel and the track caused a few sparks to splash out, allowing the flying war dragon to barely pass this curve. After entering the turn, the triangle arrow rolled over slightly due to the centrifugal force. However, just when everyone thought that the triangle arrow would overturn, the triangle arrow suddenly took advantage of the super downhill force to climb the wall of the track and pass the turn by sticking to the wall. Walking on the wall. Can you turn like this? Xiao Hao and Xiao Lai were dumbfounded. The third one to complete the downhill was Xiao Hao's charge god of war, but the moment the charge god of war entered the corner, it took off directly on the spot. Ah! My charging god of war! Seeing this, Xiao Hao rushed over. Lin Che, who had anticipated this, waited in advance in the direction where the charging god of war might fly over, reached out to catch the charging god of war, and then handed it to Xiao Hao who was rushing over. Xiao Hao took the car with lingering fear. He first checked the status of the charge god of war, and then thanked Lin Che. Thank you, Ah Che. The flying war dragon and the triangle arrow arrived at the finish line almost at the same time, followed by the sonic god of war who passed the last bend steadily. This friendly match of a test nature came to an end. Seeing this result, Joromaru made a face at Xiao Hao. Lululu. My brother's car is the best. Ying Yulong reached out to stop his brother's impolite behavior and looked at Lin Che. Your car is very powerful. If this runway was not more suitable for the triangle arrow, I'm afraid I would lose. Your car is not bad either. Lin Che said. At this time, Xiao Lai asked, will you participate in the winter competition this weekend? Ying Yulong shook his head and said, it's too late. I didn't sign up for the preliminaries because I wasn't sure when Dr. Sachia would be able to finish the triangular arrow. Now all the places for the winter competition have been decided, and I can't make it in time. That's such a pity. I thought I could compete with a master like you again in the winter competition. Xiao Lai said with some regret. I will participate in the next spring competition. Ying Yulong said. After Ying Yulong finished the race, he took the car and his brother and said goodbye to everyone. Xiao Lai didn't think there was anything wrong, as this track was not suitable for him to perform. But Xiao Hao, who didn't finish the race, seemed a little unhappy. Among the 3 super fast cars in this test race, he was the only one who didn't finish the race. Xiao Hao, your charge god of war is too unstable. Xiao Lai patted the frustrated Xiao Hao on the shoulder. No matter how fast you are, you still can't win if you can't finish the game. What can we do? The charge war god is just such a car. Xiao Hao said. I think you can slow down a bit and raise the tail wing to increase the downhill force, otherwise you won't be able to finish the course. Xiao Lai gave his brother some advice. I don't think it's necessary. If it is modified like that, the charge god of war will no longer be the charge god of war. Lin Che has a different opinion on this. In his opinion, Xiao Hao's idea of modification is not wrong. The current charge is far from being complete when its owner has not mastered the tornado moves. If it is modified rashly and the tornado, a sure win killer move, is lost, it will be a loss. So, Lin Che gave him a little hint. Instead of sacrificing the speed that the charge god relies on for stability in the bend, it is better to think of a way to allow the charge god to pass the bend at that speed. Think of a way. Xiao Hao thought thoughtfully after hearing Lin Che's words, like the dragon wings that rise up when you turn. That's the way the flying war dragon turns, not the charging war god. Lin Che shook his head. The charging war god should also have its own way of turning. That's right. Dr. Sachia affirmed Lin Che's words. In my opinion, every car will have its own unique characteristics in the hands of different people. If you blindly learn to imitate other people's cars and give up your own characteristics, then it can no longer be called your own car. Okay. I will find the secret weapon for the charging god of war. Xiao Hao instantly became full of fighting spirit again. By the way, Dr. Sachia, do you have any small device that can sense wind force? Lin Che looked at Dr. Sachia and asked, something similar to the pressure sensor I installed on the guide wheel. Do you want that kind of thing? Dr. Sachia seemed to understand what Lin Che meant. I was thinking that when the flying war dragon is going downhill or accelerating to the limit, it can automatically open its wings on both sides completely to increase the downhill force. In this way, the problem of the flying war dragon's insufficient downhill force at certain times can be solved. Lin Che said. Some time ago, a kid asked me to make a similar device for him. I have a sample here. Why don't you try it? Dr. Sachia said, and he used the intercom to ask someone to bring a small device to Lin Che. Lin Che weighed the weight of this part and frowned. If this thing was really installed on the flying war dragon, the weight would increase further. He didn't know whether it was a good thing or a bad thing. Do you want to install it and give it a try? I have professional tools here. Dr. Sachia asked curiously. Let's give it a try first. Lin Che nodded. Whether this part can bring improvement or not, we have to try it out to know. With the help of Dr. Sachia, Lin Che installed the accessory on the flying dragon and sent it onto the runway again. However, this time the flying dragon took 10 more seconds to complete a lap than before. Slowed down. Why is that? Xiao Hao asked in confusion. After increasing the downhill force, shouldn't the speed be faster? It's too heavy. The flying war dragon already has enough accessories on it. If you add a wind sensor like this, it will be too heavy. It doesn't look like the configuration of a super speed train at all. Xiao Lai said. It looks like that, but it's not just a weight issue. Dr. Sachia said, opening the video of the flying dragon running the previous lap on the computer beside him. The flying dragon had no problem accelerating on the nearly flat uphill slope in the first half of the runway. The problem was that when it was approaching the limit speed, the wind force was a little stronger than expected because of the low wind resistance brought by the integrated dragon head and body. So the flying dragon's wings opened early, but the sudden increase in downhill force caused the flying dragon's speed to drop again. Although the speed of the flying dragon on the downhill slope was much higher than before, overall, the speed was still reduced. There's nothing we can do. It looks like this device is not suitable for the current flying dragon. Lin Che said as he removed the wind sensor. I'm afraid this device can only be used after the flying dragon is strengthened in the future. It seems that you already have a follow-up plan, said Dr. Sachia. Yes, but if I need to do subsequent reinforcement, I need a material that has both strength and lightness to rebuild the car body, which is difficult to do now. Lin Che said. Do you need new materials? Dr. Sachia nodded. In that case, I don't have much to offer, but you can ask your father for help. Your company and the Three Kingdoms Group are currently researching a new type of material. Really? Lin Che was a little surprised. He really didn't know what his father was researching. However, it looks like we can only wait until next week. We will definitely miss the winter competition this weekend. Dr. Sachia said, otherwise, I really want to see how the flying dragon will perform using the new material. After that, the three of them played in Dr. Sachia's research institute for a while. Seeing that it was getting late, Dr. Sachia sent someone to drive the three of them home. A week passed quickly and it was the weekend. Lin Che, Xiao Lai and Xiao Hao took the tram to the venue of the Winter Games early in the morning. This winter race was held in the commercial center of Ginza. The top 3 floors were connected by a suspension bridge, and the race track was right above them. Seeing this, Lin Che couldn't help but complain that the world's emphasis on 4-wheel drive cars was a bit too outrageous. After the three of them took the elevator upstairs, they saw familiar faces here. Xiao Guangcheng, who had passed the preliminaries with them, arrived here earlier than the three of them and had already completed the vehicle inspection. After the three of them greeted each other, on the way to the vehicle inspection, they met a burly boy who was also holding the Aries. Get out of the way. The burly young man holding the third Aries looked difficult to get along with. After he said that, he pushed Xiao Lai and Xiao Hao away and walked towards the starting point on his own. You guy. Xiao Hao said angrily as he looked at the burly young man's back as he left. Is that guy also the owner of the God of War? Xiao Lai frowned after being helped up by Xiao Guangcheng. His name is Kurosawa, and he is the player with the fastest speed record in the regional qualifiers except for Aceh. Xiao Guangcheng said. So, his God of War is no match for Aceh's flying war dragon. Why be so proud? Xiao Hao said, gritting his teeth. At this time, after hearing Xiao Hao's words, Kurosawa turned around and looked at everyone. Do you know the owner of that flying war dragon? Are you looking for me? Lin Che met Haza. Although this guy looked tall and strong, to put it bluntly, he was just an elementary school student. Although Lin Che's height in this life was just normal, he would not be intimidated by a child. Are you the master of the flying war dragon? Hazy looked down at Lin Che and said. Yes, do you have any advice for me? Lin Che said with a smile. During the preliminaries, my black war god was far from at his full strength. In this final match, I will crush your flying war dragon and their 2 shabby war gods. Kurosawa made a harsh statement. Really? I'm looking forward to it. Lin Che said expressionlessly, but, if I win, could you please apologize to my friends? HMPH. Kurosawa snorted coldly and turned to go to the starting point. I don't know why Dr. Sachia gave the Aries to such a person. Xiao Hao complained. Okay, let's hurry up and inspect the vehicle. Lin Che said. However, Kurosawa is a very interesting person, and he is very good at modifying cars. You should know that this guy has always been able to fight with the combat racing cars that can easily destroy the second generation cars with a first generation car. The Black God of War Legion he will form in the future will also be the lifelong enemy of the original God of War Legion under Dr. Great God. If Lin Che wants to establish his own racing research institute in the future, this guy is definitely a target for recruitment. After Lin Che, Xiaolai and Xiao Hao passed the vehicle inspection, they also came to the starting point to do the final adjustments. When Lin Che turned around, he saw Xiao Hao beside him, laughing and installing unknown parts on the Charge God of War. Dear contestants, are you ready? The National Winter Competition is about to begin. The passionate voice of the four-wheel drive fighter came from the sky again. Before the race starts, let's reveal the track. The four-wheel drive fighter waved his hand, and the track conditions suddenly appeared on the big screen behind him. At the same time, strong winds began to blow around the venue. Are you surprised? This is the venue for this winter race, the Super Cyclone racetrack. Only those who can control the wind can win the race. Everyone, look. The 4WD fighter waved his hand, and a runway suspended above the water suddenly appeared on the screen. Under the influence of the strong wind, the water pools around the runway kept surging, just like the sea in a storm. The beginning is a very difficult hurdle. If the car is blown into the sea, it will be difficult to continue the race. Then there are continuous bends in the strong wind, which is a great test of the car's stability. The water has splashed onto the runway. Xiao Hao exclaimed as he looked at the runway. It's impossible to use ordinary tires on such a slippery track. We can only change to rain tires. Xiao Lai said, lowering his head and taking out a set of rain tires from the toolbox. The others followed suit. Only Xiao Hao covered his head in distress. Oh my god. I forgot to bring rain tires. I really can't do anything about you, use mine. Hearing this, Lin Che took out 4 spare rain tires from the toolbox and threw them to Xiao Hao. The wheels I use are the same ultralight as yours, so there should be no problem. Thank you so much, Ache, you really helped a lot. Xiao Hao took it and started changing the tire in a hurry. After everyone had changed their tires, they each came to the starting point. Everyone, take your positions. The 4WD fighter ordered, ready. Go. Everyone put down their cars at the same time, and more than 10 cars sped out at the same time. The exciting winter season finals have finally begun. Let's see who will come out on top in this match. Charge. Charge God of War. Xiao Hao shouted with full energy. On the super long straight line at the start, Charge God of War quickly rushed to the front with the advantage of fast acceleration. Ah! It's the Charge God of War. And, the 4WD fighter shouted, and at this time, the 4WD fighter also noticed the difference between the Charge God of War in the past. The dazzling lights on the front of the car illuminated the somewhat dim venue. It's the headlights. The Charge God of War actually installed headlights on the car. He, my Charging God of War is the coolest. Xiao Hao said with a smile while running. Xiao Lai. Lin Che. The two of them looked at the Charging God of War who had stole the show in silence. So, what you just installed was this headlight. Lin Che said helplessly. Xiao Hao really has the personality that a little boy of his age should have. Xiao Lai couldn't help but yell at Xiao Hao. What else do you use that heavy, power-consuming thing for, other than to show off? After entering the curve, Sonic used his gorgeous cornering skills to easily overtake Charge. Look, Xiao Lai said to Xiao Hao with some pride. The flying war dragon in third place also spread its wings, passed the corner, overtook the charging war god and caught up. But what no one expected was that Kurosawa's Black God of War had an even more exaggerated speed at this bend than the three of them. He surpassed the Charge God of War in just one bend and caught up with the Sonic God of War and the Flying War Dragon. What? Xiao Hao was stunned when he saw this. See, this is the power of my Black God of War. Kurosawa said proudly. Don't be so complacent, I will catch up with you on the straight road soon. Xiao Hao said, Charge. Charge, God of War. After exiting the bend and coming to the straight line again, the charging God of War chased after everyone and soon caught up with the Flying War Dragon and the Black God of War who were running in the front. However, the good times did not last long. After entering the curve again, the Charge God of War's poor cornering skills slowed it down again. The Sonic God of War caught up, but was left behind after exiting the curve. The only one who could compete with the Black God of War for the first place was Lin Che's flying war dragon. My Black War God has a variable tail wing and variable angle guide wheels, which makes it perfect both in straight lines and curves. The war gods of your two cars can't compare to the Black War God. Hazy, who rushed to the front, turned back and taunted the two brothers, then looked at the flying war dragon, which was already slightly ahead. Next is your car. However, on the last long straight runway of the Gale Tunnel, the flying war dragon, which had accelerated, left the Black God of War behind little by little. What? Kurosawa was shocked. You are using a balanced motor that takes into account both speed and torque, and the gears are also of a similar medium gear ratio. Lin Che turned around and said, although your modification skills are very impressive and can make your car perform well on both straight roads and curves, it is only good. The consequence of wanting everything is that you will not be proficient in anything. Not only the flying war dragon, but also the charging war god who was good at straight lines was also closing the distance with the Black War God on this straight line. The flying dragon of Lin Che, the talented racer from China, has taken the lead now. And Hazy's Black God of War is following closely behind. The leading group has already rushed out of the tornado tunnel and reached the next obstacle. After rushing out of the darkness, Lin Che looked at the scene in front of him and exclaimed that it was outrageous. A 200-meter suspension bridge connected the second building, and the runway was on the suspension bridge. It didn't feel so profound when he looked at it from below, but when he was on the suspension bridge, the wind was whistling in his ears, and even though Lin Che was not afraid of heights, he couldn't help swallowing. This is the second most difficult challenge of this race, the Hell Suspension Bridge. It is a suspension bridge connecting the various venues. The high-altitude wind is not only a test of the car, but also a test of the driver's courage. The flying war dragon had already rushed out, and Lin Che had no choice but to follow. Kurosawa was at the most fearless period of a human cub, and without thinking, he rushed onto the suspension bridge with the Black God of War. As for Xiao Hao, his legs went weak the moment he saw the suspension bridge. There was nothing he could do. Although Xiao Hao had the spirit of rushing through everything with passion, his fear of heights was a weakness engraved deep in his soul. In the end, Xiao Hao barely crossed the suspension bridge with his eyes closed and holding onto his brother's shoulders. After the suspension bridge is another challenge. The Desert Storm track. We won't be able to get through this sandy track with the previous rain tires. The four-wheel drive fighter reminded. Lin Che stopped the flying war dragon, disassembled the car shell and began to replace parts. Hazy and the two brothers Xiao Lai and Xiao Hao had also arrived. Hazy was the first to replace the parts, and then he set off. Before leaving, he gave Lin Che a disdainful look. You change parts as fast as a turtle, I'm leaving first. Xiao Lai, who was an expert in this, quickly replaced the off-road tires for the Sonic God of War and set off second. When it comes to replacing parts, Lin Che's previously accumulated lead has been completely consumed. Now only Xiao Hao is accompanying him to slowly change parts. The four-wheel drive fighter couldn't help but say as he watched this scene. Che, what's wrong with you? Xiao Lai looked at Lin Che with some confusion before setting off. He remembered that Lin Che's speed in replacing parts should not be slow, so why did it take so much time now? There are a lot of things to dismantle, you go first. Lin Che shrugged and continued to concentrate on the operation. On this track full of fine sand, if the car is too heavy, it will easily sink into the sand, so Lin Che simply temporarily removed the pressure sensor device that controls the cornering, and also replaced the guide wheel with the same ultra-light small caliber guide wheel as the Charge God of War. After replacing the parts, Lin Che and Xiao Hao almost rushed the car out at the same time. At this time, a fierce battle had already occurred between the Black God of War and the Sonic God of War in front. First, Kurosawa used the tire design that deliberately raised sand to make the Sonic God fall. When Xiao Lai changed to extra-large off-road tires, he used the serrated guide wheels to destroy the Sonic God's tires, causing it to fly off the runway. However, just when the Black War God was about to attack the Sonic War God who had replaced parts again, the Flying War Dragon and the Charge War God rushed out from the side, rescued the Sonic War God, and rushed to the first place. You too. Xiao Lai was shocked at the speed of the Charging God of War and the Flying War Dragon. Even if it was a super-speed racing car, the speed of catching up was too outrageous. But soon, he noticed the configuration of the two cars. Unlike the strategy of Sonic Wars and Black Wars to replace the tires that focus on off-road, the tires currently used by Flying War Dragon and Charge Wars are still the most common ultra-high-speed tires, ultra-light green medium-diameter wheels with ultra-thin tire skins, plus the already very light body, which means that the two cars will not have the trouble of getting stuck in the sand at all. So, Che, you were disassembling parts just now. That's why your movements were so slow. Xiao Lai thought to himself. Ha ha ha. Let's go first. Brother, you just follow slowly from behind. Xiao Hao said proudly. The Flying War Dragon and the Charging War God rushed out of the desert tunnel first and came to the second suspension bridge. This time, Xiao Hao held Lin Che's shoulders tightly. After the two passed the suspension bridge, they entered the last building. As soon as they entered, the howling wind blew them off balance. The next level is the last one. The 4WD fighter shouted, it's a super downhill track in the wind. On the extremely steep downhill, we have to endure the invasion of the wind. This level not only tests the speed, but also has higher requirements for the stability of the car. Lin Che stopped the Flying War Dragon, replaced the guide wheel, opened the dragon wings on the car body, and was the first to set off. The first one to set off this time was the Flying Dragon, said the four-wheel drive fighter. However, Lin Che took the initiative to spread the wings behind the Flying Dragon. Is there any explanation for this? At this time, Dr. Sachia explained to him, this is to increase downforce so that the car can improve grip when going downhill. What a great design, said the 4WD fighter. Xiao Lai's Sonic God of War and Xiao Hao's Charge God of War also set off one after another. The next one is the Black God of War. The two Aries were running side by side on the downhill, following the Flying War Dragon. On the contrary, the Black Aries, which performed well on the previous track, performed mediocrely in this stage. The Black War God is not designed to be good at downhill. Kurosawa gritted his teeth and thought to himself. The Black War God itself is designed as a heavy-duty racing car, and the design of the body also focuses more on acceleration on flat ground. Its performance on this downhill track is not as good as the Charging War God, which has almost no downhill power and relies entirely on hard charges. The race was proceeding in an orderly manner, but Lin Che, who was running against the wind, felt something was not right. The wind was a little too strong. If the purpose is just to create obstacles for the four-wheel drive car, there is no need to use such strong wind. You should know that the cars of the seated players participating in this competition are almost all fully covered track cars, and the influence of wind is minimal. The current situation is that the car can run against the wind, but his players can't stand it anymore. You know, Lin Che's current body has been strengthened by the system and is at the top level among his peers. He can't even withstand it, let alone Xiao Hao, who is 1 year younger than him. If Lin Che hadn't been holding Xiao Hao's hand, Xiao Hao would have been blown over by now. Soon, Xiao Lai also caught up in the strong wind. Xiao Hao, stop the car. The wind is not right. Lin Che remembered that in the original timeline, the two brothers seemed to have failed to complete the race, but Lin Che could not remember the specific reason, so he couldn't help but remind them. No, Che, if we don't get a good result in this winter competition, my brother and I will have to return the Aries to Dr. Sachia, so how can we stop here? Xiao Hao insisted. At the same time, the broadcasting station at the finish line was in chaos. Dr. Sachia had already discovered the abnormal wind conditions and ordered the wind to be stopped. However, after the abnormal strong wind stopped, the chandelier that was blown to the point of being shaky by the wind fell straight down towards the runway. Be careful. Seeing this, Lin Che rushed to the ground. Xiao Hao beside him, and Xiao Lai behind him also stopped. However, before the lights went out, the two brothers saw two Aries on the runway being hit by the chandelier. In the darkness, there was still a sound of a motor that had not stopped and was gradually fading away. Lin Che recognized it as the sound of the Flying War Dragon's motor. Fortunately, the Flying War Dragon was not hit by the chandelier. However, Lin Che could not care about the car now, because Xiao Lai and Xiao Hao were already groping in the dark to find their respective cars. You two, come back here. Do you want to die? Lin Che yelled. After all, Lin Che's soul is that of an adult in his 30s. In this situation, the first thing he considered was the danger of the matter. However, Lin Che's reminder had no effect. Xiao Lai and Xiao Hao found the location of the two cars with the help of the dim light on the Assault God of War car and the emergency lights that were turned on. They picked up the wreckage of the cars regardless of the danger. I'm telling you too, this is very dangerous. Lin Che yelled at the two brothers. However, when Lin Che saw the expressions of the two brothers at this moment, Lin Che also fell silent. The Charge God of War and the Sonic God of War had been smashed beyond recognition of their original shapes. At this time, Kurosawa, who arrived later, showed a proud smile. It seems that my luck is really good. You can't finish the game. After saying that, Kurosawa rushed out with the Black God of War. However, what was unexpected was that the chandelier that fell on the runway had a second accident at this time. The wires holding the chandelier finally couldn't support the weight of the chandelier and broke. One end of the suspended chandelier also fell down and happened to hit the Black God of War. My Black God of War! Kurosawa screamed, but at this time, no one cared about it anymore. After a while, Xiao Hao took a look at the Sonic God in his brother's hand, then looked down at the Charge God, pursed his lips, gritted his teeth, and reached out to take the Sonic God from his brother's hand. Xiao Hao. Xiao Lai was a little confused. Let's put the remaining usable parts of the two cars together and let them complete the race. Xiao Hao's face showed a rare serious look. Even if the final result doesn't count, I think they think so too. Xiao Lai looked at his brother, and after a moment of silence, he nodded and said, okay. After saying that, Xiao Lai and Xiao Hao began to carefully piece together the still usable parts. Lin Che watched all this silently, and something seemed to be touched in his heart. A few minutes later, something happened that shocked Lin Che. As the combined Ares, which was pieced together with the usable parts of the two Ares, gradually took shape in the hands of the two brothers, two rays of light, one blue and one red, slowly emerged behind the two brothers. The blue light behind Xiao Hao turned into a wilderness escort wearing a cowboy hat and a revolver on his waist, while the red light behind Xiao Lai gradually turned into a bard holding an accordion. What is this thing? Lin Che couldn't help but ask in his heart. That is the soul of their car. The system panel automatically appeared in front of Lin Che's eyes. This system, which made some noise when activated and usually did not respond no matter how Lin Che shouted, suddenly appeared at this moment. The soul of the car. Lin Che was extremely shocked. In this world, every car made by a child who loves 4x4 has the potential to create something like this. They may be strong or weak, and they are all different, but they all have one thing in common: they will respond to the children's love. So, this is the origin of the voice-controlled four-wheel drive car in this world. After reading the system's explanation, Lin Che couldn't help but complain, what about me? You have it too, check it out later. After seeing the words appearing on the system panel in front of him, Lin Che turned around abruptly and found that a giant silver Chinese dragon had emerged behind him at some point. After Lin Che turned around, the dragon also lowered its head and rubbed Lin Che's shoulder affectionately. Lin Che looked at this scene and fell silent again, thinking back to everything he had done during the past 2 weeks of playing with the four-wheel drive car. Although he had initially taken the initiative to play with the car only to unlock the technology in the system, after playing for 2 weeks, the joy of making the car faster little by little really made Lin Che unable to stop. Four-wheel drive cars are really fun. The drive shafts of both our cars are crooked. Do we have to rely on rear-wheel drive to complete the entire journey? This way, it will be difficult to increase the speed. At this time, Xiao Hao's distressed voice sounded. Use mine. I brought a spare drive shaft. Lin Che said, taking out a spare part of the flying war dragon from his pocket and handing it over. Thank you, Che. After Xiao Lai took it, a bright smile appeared on his dirty face. By the way, Ach, where is your flying war dragon? Xiao Hao then remembered that Lin Che's flying war dragon was missing. It should have reached the finish line by now, Lin Che shrugged. What a pity. This is my first time participating in a big race like this, but I can't run to the finish line with the car to witness this moment. The organizers, who were already in chaos due to the interruption of the live broadcast, were anxiously jumping up and down at the finish line. Just at this moment, a pleasant sound of a motor came from the gate not far away, followed by a galloping flying war dragon. But until the flying war dragon crossed the finish line, Lin Che did not come out of the gate. Nothing will happen, right? The four-wheel drive fighter said worriedly after helping to stop the flying war dragon. Anyway, let's stop the game first, said Dr. Sachia. However, before the staff could get there, a faint light suddenly flashed in the live broadcast screen, which was dark due to the lights out. Everyone. There is a runway over there that can be used. Follow our car. After Xiao Lai and Xiao Hao completed the fusion of the two Ares, they said to Cheng and others who were following behind. And the beam of light that illuminated the darkness was exactly the headlight that the charging god of war had installed on the car before. Good. Our players have overcome the difficulties and restarted the competition. The first one to rush to the front is. The four-wheel drive fighter resumed his work, but when he saw the two Ares cars combined together, he was also stunned. Xiao Lai and Xiao Hao assembled two broken cars together. But, if so, it will not be counted in the competition results. Charge! Charge, God of War! Go! Sonic God! The two brothers shouted as they ran, and their respective car souls caught up with the speeding cars behind them. Behind them, Acheng and his group's cars lined up one by one and followed the combined Ares to the finish line. We have reached the finish line. The 4WD fighter announced excitedly, the final winner of the Winter National Competition has been decided. The champion is Lin Che's Flying Dragon, the runner-up is Xiao Guangcheng's Vanguard, and the third place is Miyagi Yuta's Lightning Striker. As for Xiao Lai and Xiao Hao, although their car was the second to cross the finish line, unfortunately, their behavior of combining the two cars together is illegal and will not be counted in the competition results. However, their spirit is worthy of learning for every Mini 4WD driver. Let's give them applause. There was applause at the scene, and then the award ceremony began. Congratulations to the host for winning the Winter Championship of the national competition, and obtaining 13.5 honor points, basic honor points 10 points, plus bonuses for contestants, Hoshima Ray plus 10%, Hoshima Go plus 10%, Kurosawa Tai plus 8%, Kahiro Makoto plus 7%. After Lin Che received the championship medal from the 4WD fighter and the invitation to next year's Super Cup national competition, the voice of the system in his mind also sounded at the right time. Congratulations, Ah Che. Xiao Lai and Xiao Hao said to Lin Che, but Lin Che found that the brothers' expressions at the moment were not right, as if they were about to say goodbye to something important. Do you two really need to worry about this? It's just a game. If there are any regrets in this game, can't we make up for it in the next spring game? Lin Che said. But our agreement with Dr. Sachia is that if we fail to win this game, we will have to return the Ares to him. Xiao Hao said with his head down. But, I remember that this was not the agreement between you and Dr. Sachia. Lin Che was puzzled when he heard this. He remembered that Dr. Sachia's original words were that if the two of them could not modify the Ares into a car with their own unique characteristics, he would take back the Ares. However, the cars they made had awakened the soul of the car, so how could it be said that they did not have their own personal characteristics? Ah! Xiao Hao was stunned when he heard that. Xiao Lai also reacted at this time. You two did a great job. Dr. Sachia also came over, squatted down and touched the brothers' heads and said, you have modified the two Ares very well. You also let me see the potential of the Ares. I believe that they will become stronger and stronger in the future. So, Doctor, you won't take the Ares away. Xiao Hao said. Your Ares has already found the best owner, why should I take it away? Said Dr. Sachia. The two brothers who survived the disaster were extremely surprised as they held their cars in their hands. After returning home, Lin Che first maintained the Flying War Dragon. After replacing the chassis, he carefully cleaned the sand and soil in the gaps on the car body before reinstalling the removed parts. After doing all this, Lin Che lay back on the bed, called out the system, and spent 15 points to purchase the Introduction to Materials Science course. Entering the study space again, Lin Che began to study. This time, Lin Che did not push himself too hard. He just studied for 2 hours every night, and spent time in the study space during his primary school classes. Just like that, a week later, Lin Che also finished the course. However, the course content disappointed Lin Che. This introductory course on materials science only introduced the mainstream materials on the market and their synthesis methods, and allowed Lin Che to understand the origins of the characteristics of these materials. However, it was still far from what he needed, which was lightweight and high-strength materials for manufacturing car bodies. However, after Lin Che completed the system test with full marks, the system gave him a very generous reward, a high-precision 3D printer. It can be said that as long as he can get materials that meet his requirements, he can immediately make a brand new Flying Dragon body. So, after school that day, Lin Che went straight to his biological father. You want a material that is both high strength and lightweight. Lin Yuan was a little confused by his genius son's request. It would be best if it could also withstand high temperatures. It's a bit absurd that you're going to use aviation materials for a four-wheel drive car. It's not that exaggerated, but it would be best if there is one. Lin Che said. In that case, we do have the new material that our family and the Three Kingdoms group have developed together that can almost meet your requirements. Lin Yuan said, if you want, I'll ask someone to pick you up after school tomorrow, and you can come with me to the Three Kingdoms group's research institute. Okay. Lin Che nodded. The next day, after school, Lin Che got on the car sent by Lin Yuan and went to the research institute of the Three Kingdoms group. Here, he met a sturdy uncle who looked like a gorilla, and a boy next to him who looked like a monkey, wearing the same blue suit as Conan and holding a paper fan. Xiao Che, this is Mr. Mikuni Kikunosuke, the president of the Mikuni group, and this is his son, Mikuni Fujikichi. Hello uncle. And hello Fujiyoshi. Nice to meet you. Lin Che greeted the father and son in the research institute. You are the son of the Lin family. I have heard of you for a long time. You are indeed a handsome man. We have prepared what you want for you. Let Fujiyoshi take you there and visit our research institute. The muscular president of Sangwo smiled roughly and said to Fujiyoshi beside him, Fujiyoshi, you can take the little guest of the Lin family to visit our research institute. Yes, Dad. The young master holding a paper fan nodded to his father, then said to Lin Che, then come with me. Lin Che nodded and followed Tengji into the research institute. The Three Kingdoms group can be said to be the neon high-tech incubation base of this world. In just a distance of 100 meters, Lin Che saw many research and development projects with extremely high technological content. After a while, Tengji suddenly opened his folding fan, showed a standard polite smile and said to Lin Che, actually, I have heard of your name before today. You are the champion of this year's winter competition, right? In fact, I am also a Mini 4WD driver. You are my idol. Lin Che. This person is not planning anything bad. In the animation that Lin Che watched in his previous life, he was deeply impressed by Fujiyoshi from the Three Kingdoms. As a rich young man whose family was rich enough to rival a country, Fujiyoshi did not have many bad habits of rich young men. He could humble himself and make friends with Xiaohao and others, and he was always the first to lend a helping hand when his friends encountered difficulties. He could be said to be the perfect image of a rich friend. When it comes to four-wheel drive vehicles, Fujiyoshi is fully worthy of the name of a genius. Of his 3 cars, except for the first Speed Axe, which was designed and produced together with Dr. Sachiya, the next 2 cars were designed by him independently. The 3 speed cars also earned him the reputation of a cornering magician. However, although this buddy is generally fine, he always likes to do some clever tricks. When he first met Xiaohao, he coaxed and tricked Xiaohao into competing with him on the difficult continuous technical curve track, which the Charge God of War is least good at, just to become famous by leveraging the Charge God of War's fame. His expression then was exactly the same as it is now. Lin Che's mouth twitched. So, this time, this guy is targeting his flying dragon. However, according to the time, his swift axe should not be ready yet. It's like this. My family also asked Dr. Sachiya to make a car for me. It's already under production. So, can you, as the champion of the winter competition, give me some advice? Fujiyoshi said. Okay. Lin Che nodded. Where's your car? Over here, come with me. Fujiyoshi led Lin Che to a room in the research institute. On the operating table in the center of the room, several robotic arms were operating a blue car shell non-stop. Sparks of metal friction rose from time to time above the car shell. Metal body. Lin Che looked at the nearly completed body on the operating table with interest, and found that the entire body of the speed axe was made of an unknown metal, reflecting dazzling light under strong light. Compared with Xiao Lai and Xiao Hao's 2 war gods, and Eagle Feather Dragon's triangle arrow, the body of this car looked more gorgeous. That's right. Tengji opened the paper fan. The body of the speed axe is made of aluminum alloy produced by the top 3 kingdoms group in Neon. Although it will be slightly disadvantaged in weight, the strength and stability are top-notch cars. Moreover, only the body and chassis made of this material can withstand the exclusive running style of the speed axe. Speedy Axe's special running method. Lin Che came to the chassis area on the other side. The chassis of Speedy Axe had been installed and the gears were being run in on the platform. After taking a look, Lin Che said, the orange-silver high-torque motor tends to have high-torque gears with large gear ratios. Is your car designed with a focus on cornering? And the guide wheels of your car are also very interesting. They are small diameter guide wheels that are usually only equipped on high-speed racing cars, but the material you chose is rubber, a material with excellent elasticity. Your car's cornering method will definitely be very interesting. For Lin Che, who had long known the special running method of the Speedy Axe, it was naturally very easy for him to deduce the answer. You are worthy of being the champion of the winter competition. You can see the ultimate move of the Speed Axe at a glance. Fujiyoshi complimented, my car can be completed today. Can you give me some advice? I have prepared the track. After saying that, Fujiyoshi took out a phone from his pocket and called his super butler Yanzuo. Yanzuo, the runway I designed before can be taken out. After completing the arrangements, Tengji brought Lin Che to the window of the room. Just a moment later, a construction team drove over. A five-pointed simple runway that circled the Three Kingdoms Research Institute was being installed at an extremely fast speed. Look, Lin Che-jun, this is the straight track that your flying war dragon is best at. Fujiyoshi said, pointing to the straight track on the runway. Lin Che, his eyesight, enhanced by the system, could tell at a glance that the straight section of the five-pointed star runway looked like a straight road from a distance, but in fact most of it was made up of continuous wavy curves. This kind of runway would be more difficult for his flying war dragon to run on than the charging god of war. The flying war dragon's wing cornering technique was useful on high-speed curves, but it was useless on such continuous technical curves. What's worse, this runway had quite a few uphill slopes. This runway was completely designed for the flying war dragon. Forget it. I need to rebuild the body of my car with new materials, so forget about the competition before that. Lin Che said. If Tengji was willing to use a proper and fair track, no, even if it was a track that was not so targeted, Lin Che would be willing to play a few laps with him. But this kind of track was purely making himself uncomfortable. Lin Che felt that the soul of his car had an urge to spit on this track. Fujiyoshi, what are you doing? President Sangwo and Lin Yuan were attracted over after seeing the commotion outside. It's like this, Dad. Isn't my new car ready? I want to compete with Lin Chejun, but Lin Chejun doesn't seem to be willing to do it. Fujiyoshi said aggrievedly. Xiao Che, why don't you play with Tengji? It's a coincidence. I haven't seen you play with cars before. Lin Yuan, who didn't know the truth, thought that Lin Che's previous habit of not liking to play with his peers had come back, so he said from the side. Okay. Lin Che shrugged. Things had come to this point. Wouldn't it make him seem like a coward if he refused again? Great. Fujiyoshi cheered, then covered his mouth with a paper fan and showed a smug smile as if his conspiracy had succeeded. When his father, President Mikuni, saw his son's expression, he immediately realized that there might be something else going on. He called Hikosaku right away. After learning that this track was specially designed for the speed axe, he punched his son on the forehead and yelled, Fujiyoshi. You're being clever again. When his father called Hikosuke, Fujiyoshi tried to sneak away, but his father shouted and he was frozen in place. Behind Fujiyoshi, the shadow of President Mikuna's majestic figure loomed over him. Fujiyoshi, who had his back to him, was sweating profusely and trembling. Fujiyoshi, didn't I tell you? Don't show off your cleverness. President Mikuni said sternly. Yes, father. Fujiyoshi immediately stood at attention, turned around, and lowered his head. Now, apologize to Lin Chejun, said the president of Sangwo. I'm sorry, Och. Tengji bowed his head and apologized to Lin Che honestly. It's okay. Lin Che would naturally not really bother with this kid who was only in his early 10 years old. I'm sorry, Dr. Lin, I'm not a good parent and I made a fool of myself. The president of Sangwo turned around and said to Lin Yuan. Mr. Sangwo, don't say that. Children are bound to make mistakes. Lin Yuan smiled nonchalantly. By the way, are we still going to compete in this competition? If Mr. Lin Che is willing to continue the competition, I will have someone rebuild the track. I also want to see whether our Three Kingdoms group has better technology in four-wheel drive vehicles or your Lin heavy industry is more powerful. President Sangwo laughed heartily. I'm fine. Lin Che nodded. I won't lose to you. Tengji also became energetic at this time and said to Lin Che. It has to be said that the execution power of the employees of the Mikuni group is indeed top-notch. After President Mikuni gave the order, his construction team completed the renovation of the runway within 2 hours. After remotely referring to some suggestions from professional Dr. Sachiya, the difficulty of this new runway is much higher than the previous runway designed specifically for the speedy axe. While retaining the previous continuous technical curve design, the proportion of long straight tracks and high-speed curves has been increased to give the Flying Dragon and the Speedy Axe room to perform. The outcome of the race still depends more on the comprehensive capabilities of the car. During the renovation of the runway, Fujiyoshi also got the Speed Axe that was finally completed. Holding the car, he looked at the runway under construction with great confidence, his eyes full of impatience. Lin Che adjusted the car slowly and put the tires and motor in his arms to warm them up in advance. Okay, guys, come on over here. President Sangwo called out loudly at the starting point. This time, a professional robotic arm was used to start the race. Lin Che opened the flying dragon and placed it on the instrument, and Fujiyoshi did the same. At the starting point, President Mikuni personally pressed the start button and the two cars rushed out instantly. Lin Che and Fujiyoshi followed on the left and right sides of the track respectively. Come on, Xiao Che. Lin Yuan cheered for his son enthusiastically. However, at the starting stage, the Speedy Axe, which paid more attention to torque configuration than the Sonic God, quickly took the lead, while the Flying Dragon had to accelerate slowly. The first bend after the start was right in front of them. This was a large high-speed bend. When the Speedy Axe entered the bend, the Flying Dragon also accelerated to catch up, and the two cars entered the bend almost at the same time. After entering the curve, the dragon wing on one side of the Flying War Dragon lifted up, pressing the Flying War Dragon to stay stable on the runway and rush through the curve along the runway wall. The Speed Axe bounced to the other side of the track the moment the guide wheel on one side touched the track wall, and the same happened to the guide wheel on the other side. The Speed Axe bounced through the curve in a strange inside-outside trajectory. Is this the way you turn? It's going in completely different directions from the car of my other friend who is also good at cornering skills. Lin Che looked at Fujiyoshi who was driving side by side with him and said with a smile. Is your friend Hoshima Ray? The older brother of the famous Beyblade. After challenging you, I will challenge them. Fujiyoshi said. If the speed is like this, you can't beat him on the high-speed curve. Lin Che said, the speed of the Sonic God on the curve is so fast that even I can only admit defeat. The way the car designed by Fujiyoshi turns corners is really interesting. Lin Yuan looked at the images sent back from the real-time monitoring and nodded thoughtfully. Although he didn't know much about four-wheel drive vehicles, Lin Heavy Industries had aircraft and automobile manufacturing industries, so he could see some clues. From the start, we can tell that Xiao Che's car is one that focuses on extreme speed. The torque of the motor is not enough, so it will lag behind the high-torque Speedy Axe at the start. However, the high-torque configuration of the Speedy Axe was caught up after the Flying War Dragon completed its acceleration. It is not difficult to see that the Speedy Axe has a problem of insufficient extreme speed, but the two cars' completely different handling solutions on this curve allow the Speedy Axe to perfectly play its strengths. Lin Yuan analyzed, Xiao Che changes the direction of the downhill force to keep the car stable on the curve. In this way, the resistance brought by the curve will only reduce the acceleration of the car, and will not have much impact on the speed of the car. The Speedy Axe takes the shortest route in the curve through collisions. Although each collision will reduce the speed of the car, the strong power of the high-torque motor will quickly restore this speed every time. Both cars are designed with great ideas. Fujiyoshi is also very good. You're too kind. Although President Mikuni was always very strict with Fujiyoshi, he couldn't help grinning when he heard his partner praising his son. On the other hand, Fujiyoshi was very dissatisfied when he heard Lin Che say that his car's speed on the curve was not as fast as that of the Sonic God. Of course I know that my running style on the high-speed curve is no match for the Sonic God, but the real ability of the Speed Axe is not on the high-speed curve. Then let me see again later. I'm going first. On the straight track after exiting the bend, the Flying War Dragon, which had already accelerated, immediately swung the Speedy Axe for a distance. After running through this straight line, the Flying War Dragon also came to the next level, a series of serpentine technical bends. After entering this runway, the speed of the Flying War Dragon inevitably dropped due to the collision. The body of the car was constantly shaking, and the dragon wings on both sides were raised and lowered from time to time. Coupled with the weight of the Flying War Dragon itself, the Flying War Dragon barely prevented it from flying off the runway. Although your Flying Dragon running method is exquisite, it is useless on this kind of continuous serpentine technical curves. Fujiyoshi also caught up at this time, and a purple-gold snake-shaped phantom appeared behind him, which only Lin Che could see, and it kept spitting out its tongue. The purple-gold snake-shaped car soul behind Fujiyoshi suddenly climbed up, and the swift axe on the track also turned into golden lightning, easily passing through this difficult continuous technical curve at an extremely fast speed. In just this short distance, the swift axe not only caught up with the Flying War Dragon that was leading on the straight track in front, but also overtook it. See. This is the area of my super speed axe. I call this way of running lightning running. After overtaking the Flying War Dragon, Fujiyoshi said to Lin Che complacently. This running method is really amazing, Lin Yuan said, touching his chin. On a series of serpentine curves, if you use this method to turn, the car will travel the shortest distance. Coupled with the strong power of the high-torque motor and gears, it can almost be said that you don't need to slow down to pass this curve. On the contrary, the car with a small brake, after barely passing this curve, the speed that the car has finally increased will drop again, and it can only accelerate again. However, before Fujiyoshi could be happy for long, the flying war dragon caught up with him again on the straight road after the bend, leaving the swift axe behind. Seeing this, Fujiyoshi immediately made a bitter face and muttered, "So fast. The track that Dad built has too many straight sections. It's impossible to get rid of its car like this. What a beautiful cornering technique." After Lin Che caught up with Teng Ji, he gave Teng Ji a heartfelt compliment. "On this kind of curve, even Xiao Lai's car is no match for you, but, have you ever thought about what to do after you get out of the curve? The aluminum alloy body and chassis are much heavier than ordinary cars, and the high torque motor and gears make it difficult to make up for the weakness at the limit speed. As long as we can get enough lead on the curve so that you can't catch up, that'll be fine." Seeing that the two cars were about to enter a six-turn hairpin again, Fujiyoshi shouted to Speedy Axe, "Go! Speedy Axe, get rid of him. Lightning Run." The gorgeous lightning running style appeared again, and the Speedy Axe once again widened the distance between himself and the flying war dragon on this bend. This time the gap was even larger than before. However, on the straight line after the bend, the speed of the flying war dragon did not slow down at all. In this way, the two cars took turns leading in the curves and the straight lines, but the time it took for the flying war dragon to catch up with the Speedy Axe was getting shorter and shorter each time. In other words, the gap that the Speedy Axe could open in the curves was gradually shrinking. How could this happen? Fujiyoshi held his head in confusion. Although the flying war dragon takes a long time to accelerate due to its own weight, this is a problem that only occurs when accelerating from zero. After reaching a certain initial velocity, the acceleration of the flying war dragon will not lose to any car. Lin Che said with a smile. After the speed of the flying dragon increases, the speed of recovery after slowing down at each bend will become faster and faster. In addition, the configuration of the flying dragon is the same as yours, which is an extreme configuration. The ultra-high-speed motor and gears make its maximum speed far higher than your speed axe. With this configuration, aren't you afraid of running off the track when cornering? Fujiyoshi gritted his teeth. Don't think of me as a reckless man like Xiao Hao, Lin Che said with a smile. The design concept of my car is actually similar to yours. I maximize one aspect first, and then find a way to make up for the problems caused by the extreme configuration, whether it is a movable flying wing or a car body that has to be heavier. However, the stability of cornering can be achieved with some small tricks, but the car's maximum speed is not so easy to improve. Unless you can replace it with an all-round upgraded motor that has both high speed and high torque, it's like an agile child who can't outrun an adult who has lost his agility due to his strong physique. I can make that kind of motor, but it can't pass the vehicle inspection for a formal competition. Lin Che said. In order to prevent the four-wheel drive competition from becoming a competition between motors and batteries, the restrictions on motors and batteries in this world are stricter than those in Lin Che's previous life. The batteries for each competition are uniformly distributed by the organizers at the time of the competition. As for motors, there are only 3 types of motors on the market that can be used for official competitions: high-speed blue-silver motors, high-torque orange-silver motors, and balanced black-silver motors. These motors were entry-level motors in Lin Che's previous life. Motors with better performance have not yet been produced. As for those hand-wound motors whose speed and torque far exceed those of the models on the market, they are expressly prohibited by various organizers. Don't be so proud. Fujiyoshi waved his folding fan, looking very unconvinced. My speed axe has just been born and is far from its strongest state. As for the problem you mentioned, I will find a solution. I'm looking forward to your performance in the spring competition 2 months from now. As for this game, I'll win it. Lin Che said with a smile. Go! Flying Dragon. On the last high-speed curve before the finish line, Fatian Zonlong once again demonstrated his flying wing cornering method at high speed. Although Speedy Axe tried desperately to catch up, he still couldn't catch up with Fatian Zonlong, who had accelerated to the limit and was at full power. Fatian Zonlong finally won this friendly match with a gap of 4 seconds. Haha, what a wonderful race. After both cars reached the finish line, the fathers of the 2 cars also smiled at the same time. At their age, they don't particularly care about the outcome of the race itself. Instead, they care more about seeing their own children fighting for victory. Mr. Lin Che, I'll ask you to take good care of Fujiyoshi from now on. President Sangwo said to Lin Che. As for Mr. Makuni, Fujiyoshi's performance was also good. They should learn from each other in the future, said Lin Yuan. The fathers of the two families started to flatter each other in their business dealings. After taking back their respective cars, Lin Che and Teng Ji were completely unable to get a word in. However, when Lin Che left, in addition to getting the samples of the new materials that had been agreed upon before, Teng Ji also gave Lin Che a membership card of the Three Kingdoms Entertainment City, the largest game hall in Tokyo, and invited him to play with him when he was free. It can be seen that although Teng Ji did not say it explicitly, he had already regarded Lin Che as a good brother after the competition. After arriving home, Lin Che took out the 3D printer that he had received as a reward for the last course from the system, and prepared to rebuild the body of the flying war dragon. But before he started, Xiao Hao and Xiao Lai came to find him. Super downhill competition, participants will compete in groups of 2. Lin Che asked curiously as he looked at the poster in Xiao Hao's hand. Yes, yes, Xiao Hao said to Lin Che excitedly, this is a competition in which 2 people compete in a group. The track is divided into 2 parts. The first part is a continuous downhill curve and the second part is a straight downhill run. 2 players will complete each part in relay. It sounds like it's very suitable for you too. The first half will be run by the Sonic God who is good at curves. As for the second half, since it's all straight lines, your Charge God won't have to worry about running off the track. Lin Che said. The problem now is that although it is a relay race, we can only use one chassis to run the entire course. The parts configurations of the Sonic God of War and the Charge God of War are completely different, but the work of replacing parts can only be done by the second runner. But Xiao Hao's speed in replacing parts is not satisfactory. Xiao Lai said distressed-edly. Brother, there are some things you don't have to say. Xiao Hao said angrily. This is indeed a troublesome matter. Lin Che said. Although Xiao Hao was very meticulous in replacing parts, his speed was indeed too slow. In this kind of competition that requires replacing parts, the more parts that need to be replaced, the greater the disadvantage. Even if the replacement of parts is delayed, I will catch up on the straight track behind. The charging God of War is best at speed. Xiao Hao said. I don't think so. Lin Che reminded, have you forgotten the last competition at Dr. Sachia's Research Institute? On the straight downhill, the Charge God of War had no downhill force, so it was difficult for the motor and gear to perform at their best. It doesn't matter. As long as it's a straight road. Xiao Hao said, even if the Charge God can't accelerate to full speed on a downhill track, no car can beat the Charge God on a straight line. But, Dr. Sachia just said that Brother Yingyu will also participate in this competition. His triangle arrow is faster than your car when going downhill. Xiao Lai said on the side, forget it, let me open up the gap in the first half of the curve. By the way, Ah Che, do you want to participate in this competition as well? Xiao Lai asked. Lin Che shook his head after hearing this. I would like to join, but I don't have any teammates to form a team with. The chassis of the flying dragon is specially polished to match the body of the dragon head and phoenix tail. Other cars can't use it. Lin Che's system would calculate honor points for him in any official competition, but he couldn't participate in this team competition because of the car. Even if he pulled Teng Ji over, the Speedy Axe couldn't use the Flying War Dragon's chassis. Haha, my brother and I have already considered this for you. Xiao Hao patted his shoulder confidently and said, the rules don't say that you have to change cars in the middle of the race, you just need to modify the Flying War Dragon to a configuration suitable for bends in advance, and let someone take the Flying War Dragon to help you finish the first half, right? That's feasible, but I don't have any other friends in Neon except you, Lin Che said. Lin Che has been in Neon for a while, but he hasn't even recognized all his classmates yet. Where can he find someone who knows about four-wheel drive vehicles and is willing to help him? Xiao Chun said that she will go to the competition site with Uncle Sakami that day, and she can help. Xiao Hao said, Xiao Chun seems to be very interested in Mini 4WD recently. Is that so? Lin Che thought about it and nodded, then I will go there when the time comes. Great. We can have another good fight this time. Xiao Hao said excitedly, my charge God of war will definitely win this time. That may not be the case. In the next few days, I will make my flying war dragon look brand new. Lin Che said with a smile. After seeing the two brothers off, Lin Che returned to the room and connected the 3D printer that came with the system to the computer. The technology in this world was much more advanced than that of Lin Che's previous life. The performance of the computer was already comparable to that of the computers used about 10 years ago in Lin Che's previous life. However, Lin Che was not in a hurry to make it. Instead, he opened the mini racing simulator software that came with the system on his computer. Last time, Lin Che also relied on this software to set the body of the flying war dragon to the best state. This time, after changing the material, some details of the body also needed to be adjusted in advance. The current flying dragon's body weighs 75 grams. It should be much lighter after replacing the new material, thereby reducing the time required for the flying dragon to accelerate to the maximum speed, and it can also be equipped with the wind sensor obtained from Dr. Sachiya. Lin Che tested the appropriate weight and detailed angles of the car body on the simulator again and again. It took Lin Che 3 whole nights. Lin Che finally adjusted the data of the new body of the flying war dragon. Then, Lin Che started the system's 3D printer and put the new material into the raw material area. Half an hour later, Lin Che got the new body. After finishing the painting and other work, Lin Che began to adjust the sensitivity of the new wind pressure sensor to ensure that the device would only be triggered when needed and would not interfere with the normal driving of the flying war dragon on flat ground like last time. By the time everything was completed, it was already the day before the super downhill race. Lin Che looked at the brand new flying war dragon with satisfaction. After turning on the switch and listening to the pleasant sound of the flying war dragon's motor, he felt an endless sense of satisfaction in his heart. This feeling of completing a car from scratch was much more enjoyable than when he played with a four-wheel drive car in his previous life. Lin Che looked back at the old car body on the table, thought about it, found a chassis and assembled it with tires, then put it in a transparent display box and placed it on the bookcase in the room. At this time, Lin Che suddenly felt a strange feeling coming from behind him. After turning around, he found that the soul of his silver dragon chariot had emerged at some point, and was rubbing its head against his shoulders constantly, with a pair of golden eyes full of anticipation. Do you want to try running? Lin Che asked softly. The silver dragon nodded hurriedly, looking surprisingly cute. Lin Che took the new flying war dragon downstairs and came to his own runway. He parked the car, and the flying war dragon instantly rushed out impatiently. After a while, Lin Che caught the flying war dragon after it had finished a lap, and then looked at the timer, 3 minutes and 16 seconds, nearly half a minute faster than before. It seems that rebuilding the car body will bring significant improvements to the flying war dragon. Now, we just have to wait for tomorrow's official competition, and Lin Che is also looking forward to it. That's the end of part 1. Part 2 is coming soon.
Thanks for watching. Please subscribe and support our channel for more stories. Hello everyone, this is Fanfic Audiobook. Here you find original fan-made audio stories.
Beyblade. You call this a four-wheel drive vehicle. Part 2. The next morning, Lin Che was taken to Zuo Sheng model shop by Xiao Lai and Xiao Hao, and Uncle Zuo Sheng took them to the mountain road venue where the competition was held. When the three of them arrived, Uncle Zuo Sheng had already packed up the items needed for setting up the stall. When he saw the three of them, he said with a smile, "You are here. I was originally planning to pick you up. Xiao Chun, I'll leave it to you this time." After Lin Che greeted Uncle Zuo Sheng, he looked at the energetic little beauty Zuo Sheng Chun who was standing next to him. "No need to thank me. I just want to see what's so fun about four-wheel drive cars," Xiao Chun said. Soon, Uncle Zuo Sheng closed the shop and took the four children on the journey to the competition venue. While in the car, Xiao Hao leaned his head close to Lin Che and asked curiously, "Is your car adjusted?" "Yes." Lin Che took out a new flying war dragon. "Is this the car I'm going to use today? It looks so cool," Xiao Chun said, looking at the flying war dragon. "It looks no different from before." Xiao Hao scratched his head. By the way, Che, the section that Xiao Chun is responsible for is a series of curves. Have you made any adjustments to the flying war dragon? Xiao Lai asked. Not yet. I plan to temporarily replace the flying dragon with a larger gear, sacrificing some of its top speed to improve stability on downhill curves. Because of the wind sensor I got from Dr. Sachiya last time, going too fast on downhill curves may conflict with the flying dragon's wings when turning. It will be terrible if it flies off the runway. Lin Che said, however, because I don't have the kind of gear that is biased towards torque, I have to buy parts from you later before replacing it. The gear parts are in the box behind your seat. You can take one for yourself. It's getting late. I guess we'll have to start the vehicle inspection when you get there. The performance of new gears will be much worse if they haven't been run in. So replace them while we're still in the car. Uncle Sakami in the driver's seat reminded. Remember to pay. Xiaochen said coquettishly. Okay, Thank you very much, uncle. Lin Che nodded and handed the car to Xiao Lai, who was sitting next to him. Help me get it. After getting the flying dragon, Xiao Lai was stunned by the completely different feel from before. It's lighter. Che, didn't you install the wind sensor that Dr. Sachia gave you on the car? How come it's so much lighter than before? After Lin Che found a large-scale gear, he sat back in his seat. I got a new material from my dad and his partners. It's stronger and lighter than the previous one. I've been working on it these days, Lin Che explained. Hearing this, Xiao Hao's eyes lit up. Is there any way to make the car lighter? Xiao Hao, if your charger loses more weight, it will lose all stability and might fly off the runway when it encounters a bend. Xiao Lai reminded his brother. But if the weight can be reduced, the charging god of war will definitely be able to be faster. As for the curves, we will find a way when the time comes. Xiao Hao said. If you need it, just adjust the car body data and give it to me. Lin Che said, I have enough materials to make a new car body for you all. Although Lin Che could help them calculate the appropriate data for their respective cars and then make a copy for them directly, it is estimated that the two brothers would not accept it. Although the two brothers have opposite concepts about four-wheel drive vehicles, they have the same understanding that only the car they make is the most suitable for them. Really? Thank you so much. Che. Xiao Hao smiled brightly. Xiao Hao, you can't hear anything I say. Xiao Lai shook his head and said. Just tell me whether you want it or not. Xiao Hao immediately retorted. Xiao Lai. He really wanted it. If the Sonic Warrior could reduce a certain amount of weight while maintaining the strength of the car body, then the weakness of the Sonic Warrior's lack of straight line speed could be partially compensated. It sounds amazing. Are there so many requirements for mini racing cars? Xiao Chun asked curiously. After changing the gears, Lin Che installed two batteries that were running low on power, turned on the car, and let the gears idle and run in. Then he answered Xiao Chun's question. Mini racing cars have a lot of details. Xiao Chun, do you want to try to make one yourself? Me. Xiao Chun pointed at herself, a hesitant look on her face. This is difficult, right? How do you know how difficult it is if you haven't even tried it? Lin Che said. Yes, Xiao Chun, why don't you make a car by yourself, so we can play together? Xiao Hao said excitedly at this time. Xiao Chun glanced at Xiao Hao, thought about it, and nodded. Okay, I'll try. Great. We have one more friend to play with cars together. Xiao Hao's face was full of excitement, which made Lin Che speechless. It seems that Xiao Hao, a single-celled organism, doesn't understand the girl's thoughts at all. Finally, after a 2-hour drive, we arrived at the competition site. Looking up at the foot of the mountain, we could see 2 sections of tracks running down the mountain road. Brother! What an amazing runway! Xiao Hao cheered as he looked at the runway. HMPH. The final winner of this match must be my brother. A voice came from behind everyone. Everyone turned around and found Joromaru making faces at them. What did you say? Xiao Hao immediately started arguing with Joromaru. I say, your car can never compare to the triangular arrows of mine and my brother. Said Joromaru. Jorongmaru. Yingyulong, who had just finished the vehicle inspection, called out to his younger brother. Brother. Joromaru jumped back to Yingyulong and made a face before leaving. You're all here. Eagle Feather Dragon looked at everyone and said, it looks like we can have another good fight this time. However, in this venue full of downhill slopes, the final winner will definitely be me. Really? Lin Che said with a smile, my flying dragon is much stronger than last time. I wonder if your triangular arrow has become stronger. You will know when the game starts. After saying this, Yingyulong turned and left. This guy is so arrogant. Xiao Chun said, looking at Yingyulong's back. Let's go for the vehicle inspection as well. Lin Che shrugged and said to others. After passing the vehicle inspection, Lin Che handed the flying dragon to Xiao Chun and said, I'll leave it to you. Xiao Chun and Xiaoli took the cable car to the top of the mountain together, while Lin Che and Xiao Hao were going to take another car to the baton handover point in the middle. However, Lin Che saw a familiar stretch sedan in the parking lot. Xiao Hao, you go first. I have something to do. I'll be there soon. After Lin Che said this to Xiao Hao, he walked straight to the stretched sedan and knocked on the glass of the back seat. The door of the stretched luxury car slowly opened, and Yan Zuo walked out of the car and bowed to Lin Che. Master Lin Che. Hello. Lin Che responded politely and looked inside the car. As expected, Teng Ji was sitting in the car. Why are you here? Does your swift axe feel uncomfortable coming here for this competition? The track of this competition perfectly avoids the area that Swift Axe is good at. Lin Che said to Tang Ji. Do you believe me when I say I'm here to cheer you up? Fujiyoshi sneered. What do you think? Lin Che said speechlessly, if you want to compete with these two brothers, just go find them directly. There is no need to do all this nonsense. As long as it is a challenge for the Mini 4WD, the two brothers will accept it. Master, what Master Lin Che said makes sense. Yan Zuo echoed at this time. But I want to gather some information before the challenge, said Fujiyoshi. Then what? Make a special track that they are not good at. I will tell uncle if you do this. Lin Che said. Lin Che was helpless about the rich man Tang Ji. He was obviously quite capable, but he always wanted to do some crooked things. Please don't do this. I beg you. After hearing Lin Che's warning about meeting the parents, Fujiyoshi was immediately frightened. Then don't do these crooked things. Lin Che said. Anyway, if you want to challenge them, you should seriously tune up your car and win by strength. Your speed axe is not bad. Young master, you should listen to young master Lin Che. Yan Zuo said with his head down. Which side are you on? Fujiyoshi complained to Hikosuke. I just think what Master Lin Che said makes more sense. Yan Zuo said. Remember this, don't say I'm not a good friend when you get scolded by your uncle. After Lin Che said this, he said goodbye to the master and servant and went to take the cable car up the mountain. Yanzuo, let's go too. Not long after Lin Che left, Tengji also stood up from his seat. Where are we going, master? Of course we're going to cheer this guy on. After all, we're here anyway. Che, where have you been? Xiao Hao asked after Lin Che returned to the team. I just met a friend and went to say hello. Lin Che said. Soon, the cable car brought the second runners to the middle of the mountain road. A TV was set up at the baton passing point to broadcast the situation of the first runner. In the picture, the first runner was already ready at the starting point. Dear contestants, are you ready? Super downhill competition. On your marks. Set. Go. Following the order from the 4WD fighter, all the contestants put down their cars and ran out with them, except for Joromaru, who was holding a triangular arrow and pointing a finger towards the camera. What's going on? Isn't Eagle Feather Joromaru going to start yet? The 100WD fighter asked. 100 seconds. Joromaru said calmly, in this race, we will let the others run seconds first. Joromaru said with an exaggerated expression on his face. Xiao Hao beside Lin Che was furious. He ran to Ying Yulong and said dissatisfiedly, are you looking down on us? This runway is the territory of the triangle arrows. I just don't want to take advantage of you. There was no expression on Eagle Feather Dragon's face. Don't try to play tricks on me. Lin Che also said at this time, even if this runway is a downhill slope that the triangle arrow is good at, it is also part of the competition. We don't need you to let us go. So, what are you going to do? Said Eagle Feather Dragon. Lin Che smiled, did not answer him, and just pulled Xiao Hao back. On the other side, Xiao Lai's Sonic God of War took the lead at the start, while Xiao Chun and Flying War Dragon followed closely behind. Although a large ratio gear was installed to increase torque and the weight of the car body was reduced, the high-speed motor could not compare to the high-torque motor in terms of starting speed. However, Xiao Chun did not seem to know this and kept urging the Flying War Dragon. Come on. Flying War Dragon. Overtake. Xiao Chun cheered for Flying War Dragon while running. Xiao Chun, don't force yourself. This section of track isn't what the Flying War Dragon is good at. Just follow the Sonic God and finish this section with peace of mind. The next section of the straight track is where the Flying War Dragon should exert its strength, so leave it to Ache. Xiao Lai reminded Xiao Chun when he saw that she was a little anxious. Are you looking down on me? Xiao Chun pouted and said dissatisfiedly, even if this is my first time playing mini racing, I will surpass you. Go. Flying Dragon. In this way, the two cars entered the first corner one after the other. The Sonic God of War passed the first corner with ease, while the Flying War Dragon spread its dragon wings on one side and passed the corner with the help of the downward downforce. Here it comes. The Flying Dragon's wings are turning. It's always so handsome no matter how many times I see it. Just like a nimble flying dragon. Said the 4WD fighter excitedly. However, although the Flying Dragon's way of turning was handsome, after passing the corner, the gap between it and the Sonic God did not narrow, but instead increased by a few points. After passing several bends in succession, Xiao Chun also discovered this problem. How could this happen? Xiao Chun scratched his head. This way of cornering is just a trick Lin Che came up with to prevent the car from flying off the track. No matter how sophisticated it is, it won't allow a car with super high-speed equipment to be faster than a high-torque racing car on a curve. Fujiyoshi in the audience couldn't help but say after hearing Xiaochun's question in the broadcast, Lin Che, this guy, completely found an amateur to be his teammate this time. Xiao Lai, who was running in front of Xiao Chun, also patiently answered her questions. Just at this moment, the 100 seconds were up, and Joromaru also set off from the starting point with the triangular arrow. The triangle arrow, which was specially equipped with high-torque equipment, started very quickly and arrived at the first bend not long after. However, even with the high-torque equipment, the triangle arrow's cornering method was still simple and rough. The design of having only one guide wheel on the front of the car made the triangle arrow stumble all the way on the curve. However, the super strong downhill force made the body of the triangle arrow stick firmly to the ground. Although it seemed that there were many dangers on the curve, the triangle arrow was just a sticky thing, but I just couldn't die. In addition, the temporarily replaced high-torque motor and large ratio gear also allow the triangle arrow to quickly recover the speed reduced by collision in the corner. As for the problem of insufficient top speed caused by the high-torque equipment, there is no time to increase the speed of the triangle arrow to the limit on a track full of curves. Although triangle arrow's cornering technique was extremely crude, his cornering speed was not slow thanks to his extremely strong downhill force. Following triangle arrow, Joromaru quickly overtook one player after another and caught up with the leading Xiaoli and Xiaochun. Xiao Lai was the first player to reach the baton handover point. After high-fiving Xiao Hao and handing over the baton, he removed the body of the Sonic God of War from the chassis, handed the chassis to Xiao Hao, and reminded him, just replace the motor, gears, and guide wheels. To match you, I'm using the lightweight tires commonly used by the Charge God of War this time. I understand. After Xiao Hao took over the chassis, he began to replace the parts in a hurry. However, his speed of replacing the parts made Xiao Lai beside him a little anxious. 15 seconds later, Xiaochun also handed over the baton to Lin Che. Thank you for your hard work, Xiaochun. Lin Che took the Flying War Dragon and replaced the high-speed gear with the small gear ratio he usually used, while thanking Xiaochun. Let's change the parts quickly and get going, Xiaochun said. Because there were only a few parts to be replaced, Lin Che completed the replacement of parts faster than Xiao Hao, who got the car first. However, Lin Che did not set off in a hurry, but waited at the starting point with the car. Why don't you set off? Haven't you replaced the parts? Xiao Chun was a little confused. Because someone is 100 seconds slower, I'm waiting for him. Lin Che said, looking at Yingyulong, who was still waiting for Joromaru. Eagle Feather Dragon raised his head and glanced at Lin Che, but did not say anything. After Xiao Hao finished replacing the parts, he came to Lin Che and waited for the arrival of Triangle Arrow and Erlangwan. Xiao Hao. Xiao Lai was puzzled. Brother, you don't want to think that even if we win, it will be given to us by others. We must win this game fairly, Xiao Hao said to Xiao Lai solemnly. Hearing this, Xiao Lai turned his head and glanced at the triangular arrow that was chasing them on the broadcast screen. He nodded and said to Xiao Hao, okay, let's do as you say. What's going on? Haven't contestants Lin Che and Xing Ma Hao already replaced the car parts? Why haven't they set off yet? The 4WD fighter couldn't help but ask curiously as he watched the scene on the broadcast screen. While waiting, two other runners completed the baton handover and set off. Brother. Finally, Joromaru appeared in front of everyone with the triangular arrow. After handing over the baton to Yingyulong, he panted and said, I'm sorry for wasting so much time. You've done a great job, Joromaru. Yingyulong nodded and said, leave it to me from now on. After quickly replacing the high-speed motor and small ratio gears for the triangle arrow, Yingyulong came to Lin Che and Xiao Hao and said, since you don't appreciate it, I will show you the huge gap between the triangle arrow and your cars on this track. Stop talking nonsense. In a straight line race, the Charge God of War won't lose to any car, Xiao Hao said. The three people put down the cars at the same time, and the fastest accelerating Charge War God rushed to the front first. Although the three cars were equipped with the same high-speed motor, the extremely lightweight body of the Charge War God made its start-up time much shorter than that of the Flying Sky War Dragon and the Triangle Arrow. Go! Charge War God! Xiao Hao shouted, and the Charge War God took the lead. Behind the Charging God of War is the Flying War Dragon, which has been rebuilt with new materials to greatly reduce its weight. The flying war dragon is gradually accelerating and is slowly narrowing the distance with the charging god of war. On the contrary, the triangle arrow is slow at the start. Huh, what? At this speed, you dare to give me 100 seconds? Xiao Hao said. Don't let your guard down, Xiao Hao. Lin Che reminded, the speed you just started at won't be able to bring out the full potential of the triangular arrow. Compared with the charging god of war with almost no wind resistance, the body of the triangle arrow plays a completely negative role before it accelerates to a certain level and gains strong downhill force. Soon, the speed of the triangle arrow gradually increased. In the close-up of the broadcast camera, the body of the triangle arrow suddenly pressed down. Then, the speed of the triangle arrow suddenly increased sharply and caught up with the two leading cars. Lin Che also heard a loud phoenix cry behind him. When he turned around, he found that behind the eagle feather dragon, there was an apparition of a phoenix with flames burning all over its body, flapping its wings, and jumping flames were dancing in the air. So, the soul of his car is the phoenix. Lin Che thought to himself. Xiao Hao turned around and looked at the speed of the triangle arrow at this moment. He said in disbelief, this is even faster than last time. Aren't you talking nonsense? I just got the car last time, and the motor and gears were not adjusted to the best condition. Lin Che complained, and the flying war dragon surpassed the charging god of war after accelerating. Speed up, charge god of war, your speed shouldn't be so low. Xiao Hao said, but the body of the charge god of war on the track kept shaking. Although the almost zero wind resistance design allows the charge god of war to reach extraordinary speeds on flat ground, on this downhill slope, if the wheels can't keep close to the road, the speed will never reach the limit. On the contrary, after reaching the speed target, the downhill force brought by the triangle arrow allowed its motor to fully function. It caught up with the previous lag in a very short time and overtook the charge god of war. When he surpassed Xiao Hao, Ying Yulong said calmly, the one who can use the wind will be the ultimate winner. The eagle feather dragon came to Lin Che. The silver dragon behind Lin Che saw the enemy coming and roared at the flying phoenix. However, the flames raised by the phoenix quickly surrounded the silver dragon. The two cars on the track were also fighting for the position. I told you, on this track, your car is no match for the triangular arrow, said Ying Yulong, who came to Lin Che's side. At this speed, it's time to start. Lin Che ignored the eagle feather dragon and instead stared at the flying war dragon and spoke to himself. What did you say? Eagle feather dragon frowned, but soon, the golden dragon logo on the front of the flying war dragon, which was about to be overtaken by the triangular arrow, flashed. The dragon wings at the rear of the car body lifted up, and the car body suddenly sank down. The temporarily increased downhill force caused the speed of the flying war dragon to lag behind and then suddenly increase. The triangular arrow that finally caught up with the flying war dragon was thrown away again. You're not the only one who can use the wind. Lin Che said, go ahead. Flying dragon. Is that the device that Gha got from Dr. Sachia? Xiao Lai, who was at the baton handover station, looked at the flying dragon accelerating again on the broadcast screen and said thoughtfully, because it is a device that can only sense the wind and increase the downhill force when the speed reaches a certain level, it will not suffer at the start like the triangular arrow, and after the body is rebuilt with new materials, the weight problem has also been solved. The flying dragon has really become stronger again. Is this the flying dragon that he rebuilt with new materials? Fujiyoshi in the audience was surprised. How can it be so much stronger just by changing the material? Should I also use this material to rebuild the swift axe? Master, I suggest you don't do this. Yan Zuo said on the side, although this new material is very strong, it is still a certain distance away from aluminum alloy. And the way your car runs, only the strength of aluminum alloy can maintain stability under continuous collisions. Okay. Fujiyoshi nodded and looked away. On the track, although the flying war dragon temporarily pulled away from the triangle arrow was not defeated and kept a certain distance behind the flying war dragon. Although the charging war god was not so stable on the downhill slope, it was still a super high-speed car after all, and the distance between it and the two cars in front was not far. In this way, the three cars were speeding along the downhill slope. The players behind them had already been left far behind by the three, and the finish line gradually appeared in front of the three. The competition among the three cars is fierce. The 4WD fighter shouted excitedly, then, soon, it will be the final hurdle of the game. A super steep downhill slope of up to 60 degrees. Will they decide the winner here? Let's decide the outcome right here. Ying Yulong shouted, charge. Triangle arrow. Do you think I will lose to you? Go ahead. Flying Dragon. The Flying War Dragon and the Triangle Arrow entered the downhill slope one after the other. However, after all, they relied on the temporary increase of downhill force by taking advantage of the situation. Although they avoided the disadvantage of starting due to excessive downhill force, on this downhill slope with a sudden change in angle, the Flying War Dragon still couldn't continue to stick to the ground like the Triangle Arrow. It briefly flew into the air for a distance at the moment the slope changed. The collision after landing caused the Flying War Dragon's speed to drop a little, while the Triangle Arrow, which was close to the ground, closed the distance a lot by slowing down. The gap between the two cars was now only millimeters. In Lin Che's field of vision, above the two cars, a silver dragon and a phoenix with flames burning all over its body were fighting non-stop. However, at this moment, Lin Che heard a gunshot from behind. Charge! Charge, God of War! Xiao Hao roared. Lin Che looked back and saw that the soul of the wilderness escort car behind Xiao Hao was holding a revolver, with wisps of green smoke floating out of the muzzle. The phantom of the bullet slowly overlapped with the charging God of War that soared into the sky. No way. Lin Che hesitated when he saw this. Is this the ultimate move of the charging God of War? No, it's not the charging War God Tornado. After all, the charging War God in the air is not rotating at this moment, but is chasing the Flying War Dragon and the Triangle Arrow straight in the air. However, even if it was a half-finished Tornado's ultimate move, the charging God of War at this moment rushed into the battle between the Silver Dragon and the Phoenix like a bullet. The place where the charging God of War landed was even before the Flying War Dragon and the Triangular Arrow. However, the collision upon landing also greatly reduced the speed of the charging God of War, and the Flying War Dragon and the Triangle Arrow quickly overtook him. However, the final 50-meter sprint distance is a straight line on flat ground, which the Charge God of War is best at, and the Charge God of War quickly accelerated again and rushed forward. In the last few meters before the finish line, the gap between the three cars was already difficult to distinguish with the naked eye. We have reached the finish line. The four-wheel drive fighter waved the checkered flag frantically. What a thrilling race. The first three cars to cross the finish line were almost evenly matched. We can only tell who is the final champion today through the video. The results are out. The champion is Lin Che's Flying Dragon, and the second place is only 0.2 seconds behind it, and the third place is the Charge War God, which is only 0.1 seconds behind the Triangle Arrow. What a wonderful competition. Three super fast cars presented the purest speed competition for everyone on this straight downhill. Let's give applause to the three contestants. Gongshi Su Zhu Huo De Chao Ji Sha Po Dao Da Sai Guan Jun, Huo De Rong Yu Ji 6.8, 4 times, 1 plus 20%, Xing Ma Lai plus 20%, Xing Ma Hao plus 20%, Ying Yu Long plus 10%, Ying Yu Erlang Wan. Amid the cheers of the audience, Xiao Hao was a little unhappy holding the Charge God of War. Is there only a little bit left? This result was also beyond Lin Che's expectations. He thought that the fully strengthened Flying War Dragon should be able to easily defeat the other two cars. What was unexpected was that the final victory or defeat was only a matter of millimeters. As expected, even with the system, he could not underestimate these mini four-wheel drive racers. However, the amount of honor points he obtained this time was completely beyond Lin Che's expectations. This was obviously just a small competition, but the honor points he obtained were almost catching up with the seasonal competition that determines the qualification to participate in the annual Super Cup national competition. Only by competing with the strong can you get more improvement. Congratulations. Ying Yulong came to Lin Che's side without him noticing, and said, I underestimated you before. I'm sorry, but I will win back next time. Although Eagle Feather Dragon is arrogant, he never lacks the courage to admit failure. In response, Lin Che smiled faintly. No matter how many times I come, I will be the winner. Then let's wait and see. A smile appeared on Ying Yulong's stern face. However, you should have discovered the problem with your friend's car. Don't you plan to remind him? The Assault God of War is a car with a fatal weakness. What did you say? Xiao Hao was a little unconvinced at this time, but he lost to Eagle Feather Dragon after all, so he was somewhat lacking in confidence when he questioned. I don't think so. On the contrary, I think that the Charge War God is a car full of infinite potential. Lin Che said. Is a high-speed racing car that can't use the wind worthy of your high evaluation. Ying Yulong ignored Xiao Hao and was full of interest in Lin Che's statement. There are more ways to use wind than just downhill force, said Lin Che. To be honest, Lin Che was really shocked when he saw the Charge God of War flying in the air just now. He thought Xiao Hao had already comprehended the Charge God of War's exclusive ultimate move in advance. It can be said that if the Charge God of War had used the complete Charge God of War tornado just now, it would be difficult for the Flying War Dragon to win the final championship. Lin Che and Xiao Chun stood on the champion's podium. It was obvious that Xiao Chun was quite happy. Xiao Hao, who was in third place, looked at Ying Yulong, who was in second place, with an indignant look on his face. Jiro Maru, who was standing with Ying Yulong, kept making faces at him. Master Lin Che, my master wants to invite you over. After the award ceremony, Yan Zuo came up to the group and said to Lin Che. Teng Ji is looking for me. Lin Che raised his eyebrows and turned to Xiaoli, Xiao Hao and the others and said, then you should go back first. My friend wants to talk to me about something. Okay then, Ah Che, please be careful. Xiao Lai said after nodding. Not long after Lin Che followed Yan Zuo away, Xiao Hao suddenly said to Xiao Lai, brother, you go back with Uncle Zuo Sheng first. I have something to do. After saying that, without waiting for Xiaoli's agreement, Xiao Hao ran out and soon disappeared without a trace. What is this kid doing? Xiao Lai said helplessly. Forget it, let's go back first. Xiao Chen said. As for Lin Che, after following Yan Zuo to the parking lot, Teng Yoshi was already waiting in the car. Yan Zuo opened the car door for Lin Che. At this moment, Teng Yoshi was sitting on the sofa, enjoying a cup of steaming hot coffee. Mr. Lin Che, you're here. Would you like something to drink? Teng Ji raised his eyebrows at Lin Che. Lin Che sat down on the sofa opposite Teng Ji. Coke will be fine. Okay, please wait a moment. Yan Zuo said on the side. Not long after, Yan Zuo brought Lin Che a glass of iced cola. Lin Che was thirsty after running for so long. He drank it all before saying to Teng Ji, tell me what you want from me. I want to have a good competition with these two brothers, as well as that eagle feather dragon, so I plan to hold a formal competition. Fujiyoshi said, waving a paper fan. Lin Che. This dog owner is really arrogant. It is very expensive to hold a formal mini-car race in this world. The minimum 500-meter track for the formal race alone is a considerable expense, not to mention other matters of the event group. But Fujiyoshi decided to do it just to compete with Xiao Hao and the others, without even discussing it with President Makuni. Although the Lin Che family's assets in China are no smaller than those of the Three Kingdoms group, Lin Che does not have such outrageous pocket money. When Lin Che asked curiously, since he had passed the official competition, he could also gain honor points from it. Next month, you know, it's not easy to hold an officially recognized competition. The procedures involved are very complicated. Lin Che, then I wish you good luck. I have to go back to China for the New Year next month. The Chinese New Year at the end of the last century was still the most important day of the year for the Chinese people. It was not the ordinary holiday that was later celebrated without a holiday. If he was late in going back to celebrate the New Year, no matter what the reason, his grandfather who had carried a gun on the 38th parallel would beat him up no matter how much he doted on him. Ah, is that so? That's such a pity. Fujiyoshi said regretfully. What's a pity? Haven't you wanted to compete with these two brothers for a long time? Lin Che said. But the game will be meaningless without your flying dragon, said Fujiyoshi. How could that be? Xiao Hao's charge God of War has unparalleled straight-line acceleration. Humph, he's just a reckless man. He can't even pass a difficult curve smoothly. Fujiyoshi said. Xiao Lai's sonic God of War is steady and fierce, and his cornering skills are precise and elegant. It's just showing off on the simplest high-speed corners. On the technical corners, speed axe and I will tell him who is the king of the corners. The Eagle Feather Dragon's triangular arrow, the super downhill racing car that can harness the wind. It's just that it has strong downhill power. I don't approve of that kind of rough cornering method. After saying this, Fujiyoshi glanced at Lin Che and said, in my opinion, the only ones that can be called the strongest racing cars are the speed axe and your flying dragon. Lin Che. Is it time for thunder to strike next? Where did you learn this? Lin Che looked at Teng Ji with a pained look on his face. My dad's study. I thought you Chinese people all like this style. Fujiyoshi said. Just as the two of them were talking about racing over coffee and coke, Yan Zuo came over again. Master, it's all arranged. Lin Che. What have you arranged? It's just a good show. Fujiyoshi smiled and opened the paper fan, then pulled a car TV from the car. On the TV screen, Xiao Hao and Ying Yulong were running wildly in a straight drainage pipe, following the charging God of War and triangle arrow. My people overheard Xiao Hao's challenge to Eagle Feather Dragon, so I asked Yan Zuo to follow him. Now, let's see who is the strongest super speed car besides your flying war dragon. Fujiyoshi said. What did you use to take the photo? Lin Che looked at the camera on TV that was following the two of them, feeling a little confused. Your Lin Heavy Industries drones, you must know that the drones you develop are the best in the world. Fujiyoshi said. Lin Che really didn't know that the technology in this world was much more advanced than that in his previous life. Drones that could track and film so clearly and stably were rare even in the world before Lin Che traveled through time. Okay, let's not talk about this anymore. In the duel between the two, which car do you think will win? Fujiyoshi said after waving his hand. Charge War God, Lin Che said. On a straight line like this on flat ground, the triangular arrow needs too much time to accelerate. Moreover, the extremely light Charge War God's maximum speed is faster than that of the triangular arrow. Really? Then I'll support triangle arrow. Fujiyoshi said. The race in the sewer pipe did not go beyond Lin Che's expectations. The charging god of war took the lead in pulling away from the triangle arrow during the acceleration process after the start, and maintained the lead ever since. However, as the two cars were moving towards the drainpipe's outlet, some water flowed from the ground for some unknown reason, and the two cars suddenly slowed down due to the resistance. However, upon seeing this, Eagle Feather Dragon showed a confident smile. He picked up a stone beside him and smashed it accurately on the wooden board on the side of the road. The wooden board immediately created a special path for the triangular arrow in front of it. What is he doing? Under Fujiyoshi's shocked gaze, the triangular arrow flew along the wooden board towards the wall and ran closely along the wall. Is this car's downhill power so strong? Fujiyoshi was shocked. Is this the time to worry about that? Where does all this water come from? Lin Che said anxiously. Water. How can there be water? Fujiyoshi also discovered the problem. Hasn't this sewer been abandoned for a long time? Hikozo. Fujiyoshi quickly took out his phone and called Hikozo. Hurry up and call the municipal government to find out what's going on with their sewer. The two people outside the screen were anxious, but the two people on the screen didn't care at all and were completely immersed in the game. How can you run like this? Xiao Hao shouted excitedly after seeing Yingyulong's operation to make the triangular arrow hit the wall. The triangular arrow can run like this. You can try and see if you can do it. Yingyulong turned around and smiled. Don't underestimate me. Upon hearing this, Xiao Hao also imitated Eagle Feather Dragon and picked up a stone and threw it at the wooden board on the side of the road. However, his skill was obviously not as good as Eagle Feather Dragon's. The wooden board that was hit by the stone happened to block the charging god of war. Not only did it prevent the charging god of war from climbing the wall, but its speed was also greatly reduced due to the collision. Triangle Arrow also took advantage of this opportunity to distance itself from the charging god of war. Master, it's bad. I just got the news that the sewer has been repaired, and today is the day to reopen the gates to release water. On the phone, Yan Zuo's voice was full of anxiety. Lin Che said something in Chinese after hearing that. Then he stood up from the sofa and shouted to the driver in the cab, take us over quickly. Saving people is the most important thing. Yes. Hurry up. Fujiya urged, and then started making calls one after another, contacting the rescue team under the Sangguo group. After receiving the order, the driver immediately drove the two of them towards the sewer. Tengji, does this drone have a voice transmission function? Lin Che asked in the car. Don't you know your product? No. Fujiyoshi said, let's go to the reservoir at the end of the sewer. Even if the two of them don't have time to run out, there is a high chance that they will be washed out by the current. As long as they are rescued in time, they should be able to make it in time. As the car was driving on the mountain road, Lin Che saw Shaoli and Xiaochen, who were worried about Xiaohao and came to look for him, and Erlangwan, who already knew that the sewer gates had been opened to release water. Hurry up. Get in the car. Lin Che asked the driver to stop for a while, and then let the three people get in. Ah Che, Xiaohao. I know. Let's go there now. Lin Che said. Human life is of paramount importance. Fujiyoshi did not feel sorry for his luxury car at all. He kept urging the driver to drive faster. The luxurious stretched car sped violently on the rugged mountain road. Not long after, it arrived at the destination. Charge. Triangle Arrow. When everyone arrived, Eagle Feather Dragon followed Triangle Arrow and ran out of the exit, and behind him was a huge wave surging. Brother. Joromaru said happily. Where's Xiaohao? Shaoli was furious when he saw this. Could it be that Xiaohao had been drowned? However, the next moment, Lin Che heard a revolver shot. In the gradually filling reservoir, the figure of the charging god of war broke out of the water and caught up in the air with the triangle arrow which was about to drive ashore. The two cars could be said to have rushed to the feet of the crowd in no particular order. In the pool, Xiaohao stuck his head out holding a piece of wood, and everyone breathed a sigh of relief when they saw this. The driver who followed took out a rope from the car and threw it down, dragging Xiaohao up. The soaked Xiaohao asked as soon as he got ashore, "Who won the game?" Xiaohao. Xiao Lai looked at his unlucky brother and roared angrily in Xiaohao's ear. "Brother!" And Xiaochen and Che. Xiaohao realized that everyone had come to him, and he sneered a few times with a guilty conscience. There should be a limit to fooling around. If something really happens to you, how are we going to explain to your parents? Lin Che turned off the switch of the charge god of war that he had just picked up and handed it back to Xiaohao. He, thank you. Xiaohao took over the charge god of war and laughed, trying to put it aside. Che, did you see that just now? Who won this game? Of course my brother's triangular arrow won. Joromaru said without thinking. They arrived at about the same time, but the triangle arrow seemed to be a few centimeters ahead. Really? Xiaohao collapsed to the ground in dejection after hearing this. If it weren't for the sudden flood that affected the speed of the charging god of war, I should have won this game. No matter how many times we come, the winner will only be triangle arrow. Eagle feather dragon glanced at Xiaohao. Although the charge war god has a high maximum speed, its weakness is too obvious. It cannot run smoothly at its maximum speed in every game. After saying that, Yingyulong took Joromaru and left without looking back. You can wear some dry clothes here. Fujiyoshi found a change of clothes in the car and handed it to Xiaohao. It was the same small suit that the Grim Reaper wore as an elementary school student, but without the red bow tie. Thank you. By the way, who are you? Xiaohao looked at Fujiyoshi curiously after taking the clothes. My name is Mikuni Fujiyoshi, and I'm also a mini racer. Fujiyoshi introduced himself while waving a paper fan. Really? Xiaohao instantly perked up when he heard that Fujiyoshi was also a mini racer, then let's race together next time. Okay, my family is planning to hold a mini 4WD competition, you all should come. Seeing this, Fujiyoshi simply invited the two brothers directly. If there's a competition, I won't miss it. When is it? 2 weeks later. Fujiyoshi said. Che, you will come too, right? I have to go back to China for the new year, so I can't participate in this competition. Also, you'd better change your clothes first to avoid catching a cold. Lin Che reminded. Go change in the car. There are girls here. Seeing Xiaohao start to take off his clothes on the spot, Lin Che couldn't help but twitch his eyes and reminded him. It must be hard to be Xiaohao's brother. While Xiaohao got into the car to change his clothes, Lin Che couldn't help but complain to Xiaoli. What do you think? Xiaolai said with a wry smile. He was now worrying about whether he should tell his parents about what happened today. After returning home in the evening and finishing his meal, Lin Che heard the screams of Xiaohao next door. It seemed that Xiaoli had told his parents what Xiaohao had done today. The screams were very similar to the screams made by several children in the orphanage in Lin Che's previous life when they went swimming in the river in the summer and were beaten up by the director's mother-in-law when they came back. It seems that no matter where the parents are, their attitude towards children's suicidal behavior is the same. A week later, the final exams of Fenglin Primary School were over, and Lin Che followed his parents on the journey home to celebrate the new year. After arriving at the Beijing International Airport, Lin Che met his uncle who came to pick up his family. Lin Che's uncle is named Lin Dong. He is 20 years old and still in college. He has a typical 90s rock youth outfit. When he saw Lin Che, he came over and said, "Long time no see, Xiao Che, did you miss your uncle?" Lin Che. Lin Che looked at his uncle expressionlessly. Uncle, I suggest you cut your hair when you get home, otherwise grandpa will beat you up. Hey, you little brat are meddling in my business. Lin Dong put his big hands over Lin Che and rubbed his little face directly. Lin Che also showed a helpless expression. Because Lin Che was not much older than Lin Dong, his grandparents often left Lin Che to be taken care of when he was a child. However, for Lin Che, who was only 4 or 5 years old at that time, it was pure torture for a 30-year-old soul to watch a 10-year-old middle school boy go crazy every day. And when this middle school boy went crazy, he did not forget to take Lin Che with him, which made Lin Che even more uncomfortable. Huh, what is this? Is it a gift for my uncle? Lin Dong suddenly noticed the toolbox in Lin Che's hand. This is the toy that Xiao Che has been playing with recently. It's a mini four-wheel drive car that is very popular in Japan. Lin Che's mother, Xie Yulin, said with a smile. Oh, you kid actually know how to play with children's toys. After hearing what his sister-in-law said, Lindong looked at Lin Che with an incredible look. His little nephew had never looked like a kid under 10 years old since he was a child. Now that he suddenly learned that he had a hobby that a normal child should have, Lindong naturally felt surprised. Is it weird that I ride a four-wheel drive car? It's better than when you were 15 years old. Woo. Before Lin Che could finish his words, Lindong covered his mouth. When Lin Che's grandparents first left Lin Che to be taken care of by Lindong during the summer vacation, Lindong was only a 4-year-old child, so Lindong never avoided Lin Che no matter what he did. Who would have thought that Lin Che was so much smarter than an ordinary 4-year-old child? So, for Lindong, Lin Che's memory was the same as his browser records. Therefore, Lindong is now really afraid that Lin Che would suddenly say something shocking. Four-wheel drive car. It seems that many children in Beijing are playing with this recently. Lindong changed the subject. I heard from Arhu next door that there seems to be a competition on Beidling in the next few days. Really? Hearing this, Lin Yuan looked at Lin Che. Xiao Che, do you want to go and have a look? It would be good to meet some domestic Mini 4WD drivers. Lin Che nodded. Since there is a competition, let's go and have a look. I'll trouble you, uncle. Lin Che's current accumulated honor points are about 10 points away from the amount needed to purchase the next Advanced Materials Science course that Lin Che has his eyes on. If domestic competitions can also give him points, then he might be able to strengthen the Flying War Dragon again before the start of next year's spring season. The Charge God of War in the spring season is the complete form of the Tornado's ultimate move, and the current Flying War Dragon may not be able to beat him. Me. Lindong shook his head quickly when he heard what his nephew said. I still have to enjoy my winter vacation. I don't have time to accompany you, little brat. Really? Lin Che nodded. Then let's talk about your 15th. Okay. I'll go, I'll take you there. Lindong hurriedly told Lin Che to shut up. Then it's settled. Lin Che said. Lindong drove Lin Che's family back to the old house in the compound. Lin Che's grandparents had been waiting at the door for a long time. The moment the two old people saw their precious grandson, they rushed over, grabbed Lin Che and hugged him. Old man Lin Weidong even stuffed a big red envelope directly into Lin Che's pocket. Lin Che had a hard time dealing with the two overly enthusiastic old men. After finally finishing lunch, Lin Yuan followed Lin Weidong to the study and explained to the old man the progress of his work in neon during this period. Lin Che then took Fatian Zonlong downstairs to play alone. As soon as he went downstairs, Lin Che saw a fat boy carrying a toolbox. He was the Arhu from the neighboring house mentioned by Lin Dong. Chen Xiaohu saw that Lin Che was holding a toolbox similar to his, and he immediately became interested. Who are you? The autistic kid in Grandpa Lin's house. Didn't you transfer to Neon School? Lin Che. As soon as Chen Xiaohu opened his mouth, Lin Che couldn't hold back his composure. Although he had very little communication with his peers in this compound over the years, and his friendship with these kids of the same age was limited to knowing a few of their names, he didn't expect that this would be the image of himself in the mouths of these little kids. Hey, look at my mouth. After Chen Xiaohu finished speaking, he realized that he seemed a bit impolite. I'm sorry. Lin Che naturally wouldn't really bother with a 10-year-old kid. Chen Xiaohu also smiled innocently before saying, you also play mini racing cars, then come with me. I'll take you to a nearby model shop where there's a racetrack. Lin Che nodded and followed Chen Xiaohu out of the compound gate. After taking 2 bus stops, they arrived at the place Chen Xiaohu mentioned. Along the way, Chen Xiaohu introduced Lin Che to some mini racing drivers in the vicinity, and mentioned what Lin Dong had said before, a competition called Flying Over Beidling, that would be held on the Great Wall in 3 days. And today is the day of their Shijingshan district qualifying competition. Only by getting the top 3 places in the qualifying competition can they qualify for the main competition 3 days later. Lin Che followed Chen Xiaohu to the model shop. Before entering, the first thing that caught his eye was a runway in the open space outside the shop. It was much more luxurious than the one that Lin Yuan built for him in his own yard. At this moment, many children have come here with their racing cars and are making preparations before the race. Lin Che and Chen Xiaohu found a place to sit on the ground and opened their respective toolboxes. This is my car, Cyber Hero. Chen Xiaohu took out a mini racing car that was all blue crystal. A layer of transparent shell on the surface of the car body gave it a crystal-like texture and looked very gorgeous. Let me see your car. Chen Xiaohu stared at Lin Che's toolbox curiously. Lin Che took out the flying dragon slowly. My car, the flying dragon. The unique appearance of the flying dragon instantly attracted the attention of Chen Xiaohu and the children around him. It looks so cool. Is this the car you made in neon? Chen Xiaohu exclaimed. Just when the children in the model shop were attracted by the gorgeous appearance of the flying dragon, a discordant voice came from the side. I hope its speed can be as fast as it looks, and not just a good-looking thing. Lin Che looked in the direction of the voice and found a 10-year-old boy on the outskirts of the crowd, holding a purple-blue racing car. His face had a stern expression, like Uchiha Sasuke whose entire family had just died. Huo Yusheng. Why is he here? Chen Xiaohu said in surprise. Do you know him? Lin Che asked. How could I not know him? He's the best mini racing driver in Beijing. He's always the champion in any competition in Beijing that he participates in. Moreover, in last year's national competition, he took second place, only losing to Gao Xiaoman from Shanghai by 0.2 seconds. Even Chen Huang, who owns the legendary racing Scorpio, is no match for him. Chen Xiaohu introduced Lin Che. Is he so powerful? Lin Che looked at Huo Yusheng with interest. Oh no, oh no. If he comes here, my chances of advancing to the finals will be reduced. Chen Xiaohu said in distress, doesn't he live in the HD area? Why would he come here to compete? As if he had heard what Chen Xiaohu said, Huo Yusheng walked up to the two of them and said, because I had something at home the day before yesterday, I missed the HD zone trials, so I could only come to this match point. Also, in last year's national competition, I lost to Gao Xiaoman just because of bad luck. If the chassis hadn't cracked at the last moment, the championship would have been mine. After saying that, Huo Yusheng brought his car to the side of the track. After the referee announced the start of timing, his racing car named Alien turned into a purple lightning and sped away. 4 minutes later, the alien returned to the starting point and the referee announced his result, 3 minutes and 57 seconds. This was the only car that ran under 4 minutes in today's qualifying race. Huo Yusheng and Alien's names also appeared on the big screen in the most conspicuous position in front of the model shop, ranking first. After the results came out, Huo Yusheng immediately put away his car. The referee couldn't help but remind him from behind, why don't you adjust yourself before running again? Everyone has 3 chances. No need. Huo Yusheng said calmly, I'm already number 1 anyway. Okay then, next one, Lin Che. Seeing this, the referee said nothing more and called Lin Che's name again. Here it comes. Lin Che ran over with the flying war dragon. After the referee announced the start of the countdown, Lin Che put down the flying war dragon. The flying war dragon roared out and turned into a silver stream of light on the runway. After a few minutes, the flying dragon returned to the starting point, and the referee announced Lin Che's result with some surprise. 3 minutes and 55 seconds, 2 seconds faster than the alien just now. Lin Che and Fatian Zonlong's results also appeared on the list, pushing Huo Yusheng, who had just won first place, below. Hearing the noise, Huo Yusheng, who had already stepped out of the store, stopped and turned back suddenly. Your car is so powerful. Chen Xiaohu excitedly punched Lin Che's shoulder, it's even faster than Huo Yusheng's alien. Okay, after I finish running, it's your turn. Hurry up and go. Lin Che said as he pushed Chen Xiaohu towards the track, then turned to look at Huo Yusheng who had come to his side again. Sorry, it seems I was wrong. Your car is quite capable. Huo Yusheng said. Why, do you want to try it again? Lin Che asked with a smile. No need. There's no need to run this simple track a second time. Huo Yusheng said expressionlessly, I look forward to competing with you in the main race the day after tomorrow. Because I came in a hurry today, my alien is not in the best condition yet. See you the day after tomorrow. Lin Che said with a smile. Not long after, Chen Xiaohu's results came out, 4 minutes and 09 seconds. He failed to break the 4-minute mark, but he still ranked third. Until the end of the competition, no one's record was better than his, so he successfully qualified for the main competition. I'm lucky today. The track has many bends and is suitable for my high-torque racing car. If it were a high-speed track, I think it would be difficult for me to get a spot. Chen Xiaohu said on the way back. By the way, what type of car is your car? Chen Xiaohu asked curiously. Super high-speed express train. Lin Che said truthfully. Really? Chen Xiaohu asked in amazement. On a track that's mostly curved, can your super fast car run faster than our high torque technical racing cars? Not only me, that guy's alien should also be a super high speed express train. Lin Che said. You can tell that. Chen Xiaohu asked curiously. Huo Yusheng has never made his accessories public. His wheels are of the largest diameter. Although cars using this type of wheel accelerate more slowly and have difficulty going uphill, their maximum speed can be greatly improved. Generally, only super high-speed cars use this type of wheel. Lin Che explained to Chen Xiaohu. You two are really amazing. This is a technical track that super high-speed cars are not good at, but you can run faster than our cars that focus on cornering techniques. Chen Xiaohu said. It's nothing. On this kind of technical track that is not very difficult, super high-speed cars actually have an advantage. Besides, your car has sacrificed too much speed in order to improve its stability in the corners. Lin Che reminded. Chen Xiaohu's Cyber Wizard is obviously a very stable car in corners, and the reason is simple. In addition to the 4 guide wheels installed at the dragon head and phoenix tail, his car also has a set of mid-mounted guide wheels installed in the middle of the chassis. In this way, both the weight and the wind resistance during driving are greatly increased. You know, even the Sonic God of War and Speed Axe, which focus on corners, only have 4 guide wheels installed on the car. I suggest that you remove the pair of guide wheels in the middle and then replace them with a gear with a smaller gear ratio. This will not only ensure stability in corners, but also greatly increase speed. The combination of your high torque motor and large ratio gears is too exaggerated. Lin Che gave his suggestion. After hearing this, Chen Xiaohu kept shaking his head and said, No, I think the stability of the curve is the most important. Lin Che discovered that his neighbor was a reverse Xiaohao. The motor gear configurations of Sonic and Speedy Axe were not as extreme as his network heroes, so Lin Che stopped trying to persuade him. However, Lin Che was very interested in Huo Yusheng's alien that he saw today. From the lap he ran, it was not difficult to see that his alien was a super high-speed express car with a modification method that was completely different from the Charging War God, Triangle Arrow and Flying War Dragon. 3 days later, Lin Che took his uncle to drive him and Chen Xiaohu to the venue of the main competition, Beyblade Scenic Area, early in the morning. After getting off the bus, Lin Che looked up at one of the 8 wonders of mankind not far away, feeling a little emotional. This was the first time in his 2 lifetimes that he had seen the Great Wall. While Lin Che and Chen Xiaohu were preparing to send their cars for inspection at the vehicle inspection office at the entrance of the scenic area, they also received today's race manual, which introduced the track conditions for today's race. A total of 30 people, 3 seeded players from each of the 10 districts in Beijing, will participate in this competition. After the vehicle inspection, they will take the cable car to the highest point of the Beyblade Great Wall, the north 8th floor, where they will start, then go down along the north line, and finally reach the finish line on the north 1st floor. The entire course is about 1500 meters. Most of the track is composed of long straight lines up and downhill and several high-speed curves. There are no extremely difficult continuous technical curves. All the players can only change accessories including batteries once on the north 4th floor in the middle of the track during the competition. After seeing the conditions of the track, Lin Che thought about it and decided to replace the Flying War Dragon's gears with the larger gears that he used in the first half of the super downhill race last time to increase some of the torque. Otherwise, the uphill sections of the track would still be too strenuous for the Flying War Dragon. Coincidentally, while Lin Che was changing gears, Huo Yusheng also came here with his alien. After looking at the conditions of the track, he frowned. Although also a super high-speed car, his alien is not good at handling uphill runways, and compared with the Sky Dragon, the large diameter wheels he uses are more disadvantaged on uphill runways. However, Lin Che saw that he just adjusted the gear selection and did not seem to intend to replace the wheel hub. After the vehicle inspection was completed, the 30 contestants took the cable car to the starting point, and at the same time, a helicopter took off. Hello, dear viewers in front of the TV. The much anticipated flying over the Great Wall Cup Beyblade Mini 4WD race is about to begin. I am today's commentator Brother E. Lin Che was on the cable car, looking at the commentator wearing the same clothes as the 4WD fighters in the open door of the helicopter. Holding the microphone, he couldn't help but widen his eyes. Do we Chinese also have our own 4WD fighters? Before the contestants arrive at the starting point, let's introduce them to you. First up is Huo Yusheng, the king of mini racing in Beijing, who is well known to everyone. He is also known as the fastest boy in Beijing, and his chariot, the alien. Huo Yusheng waved towards the camera as a greeting. Also, in the HD Zone trials, the contestant who won first place is Chen Huang, who owns the legendary racing Scorpio. Hearing this, Lin Che was stunned at first, then he followed the camera to look at a figure in the cable car behind him. It was a very sturdy-looking little fat man, sitting quietly in his seat, holding a white racing car in his hand. After hearing Brother E calling him, he raised his head and greeted the audience. The car in his hand was one of the only two legendary racing cars Scorpio made by the father of many four-wheel drive cars, Tetsujin Okada. As for the other Scorpio, it is now gathering dust in the hands of the four-wheel drive fighter in Japan. So, the captain of the Chinese Sha team in the original novel, Chen Huang, is also in Beijing. Lin Che asked in surprise. In last year's national competition, contestant Chen Huang lost to contestant Huo Yusheng and only got third place. Will he get revenge this time? Let's wait and see. Hearing what Brother E said, Huo Yusheng, who was not far from Lin Che, curled his lips in disdain. What happened in last year's national competition? That car is the legendary Scorpio, how could it only come in third place? Lin Che couldn't help but ask Chen Xiaohu beside him. I don't know what happened either. Anyway, in the first half, the Scorpio was always in the leading position, but after a section of off-road track, Chen Huang stopped the car and repaired it for a long time. But from the footage I saw in the broadcast, the Scorpio seemed to have only suffered a minor scratch. Chen Xiaohu said. Lin Che. So Chen Huang has developed a problem of not daring to let the car run at full speed because he is afraid of getting hurt. It's outrageous that such a driver can be selected as a representative of the national team. Brother E introduced several more contestants. These people, including Chen Xiaohu, were regulars at major racing competitions in Beijing and were familiar to everyone. In addition to these players, there is a new face this time. His name is Lin Che, and the name of the chariot he owns is very domineering, called Flying War Dragon. The broadcast camera also aimed at Lin Che at this time. Lin Che also smiled and waved as a greeting. Although Lin Che has no previous record of mini racing in China, we can find his information on the official website of the World Mini Racing Association. He previously won the Winter Championship of the National Championship in Neon, the birthplace of mini racing. He is also a very capable player. Wow, you're so amazing. Brother E's words attracted everyone's attention to Lin Che. Chen Xiaohu beside Lin Che exclaimed, "You're actually the national champion of Neon. That competition doesn't count as a national championship." Lin Che explained to Chen Xiaohu, "Neighbor's annual competition system is different from ours. My winter championship is almost equivalent to the champion of the provincial qualifiers of China's national competition. That's pretty impressive. After all, you are the champion of the birthplace of mini racing." Chen Xiaohu said. It can only be said that people of this generation still have some idea that the moon is rounder abroad. Lin Che corrected him by saying, "It's not that exaggerated. The difference in strength between Chinese and Japanese mini racers is actually quite close. Didn't you see that Huo Yusheng's alien was only a few seconds behind mine a few days ago?" The cable car up the mountain finally brought all 30 runners to the starting point, and everyone set up their bikes at the starting point, waiting to set off. This time, let's have a good fight, Neon champion. Huo Yusheng, who was holding the alien beside Lin Che, suddenly spoke. Don't worry, I won't let you down. Lin Che responded with a smile. On your marks. Get set. Go. Brother E announced the start of the race, and 30 racing cars rushed out one after another. On the downhill track paved along the steps of the Great Wall, 30 cars were divided into echelons at the initial straight-line stage. Chen Xiaohu's Cyber Sniper relied on its Super Torque configuration to briefly take the lead at the start, but was soon overtaken by the Flying Dragon, Alien, and Scorpio cars after they accelerated in the straight line, and fell to fourth place. The cars behind also followed closely behind the first echelon. The three cars in front are moving forward in lockstep, and it is difficult to determine the winner in a short period of time. Soon, the three cars arrived at the first difficult part of the track almost at the same time, the super steep downhill between the 8th floor of the north and the 7th floor of the north. The Alien and Scorpio flew directly up on the downhill slope and landed back on the runway several meters later. The Flying War Dragon reached the threshold of the wind sensor installed on the car before entering the downhill slope. After spreading its dragon wings, it relied on the surging downhill force to greatly shorten the distance between the flying cars. Relying on the advantage that the two cars touched the ground first and started to accelerate again, it moved forward at a high speed and widened the distance between it and the two cars. The Flying War Dragon is indeed very powerful. The sudden change in angle of the tail wing gave the Flying War Dragon a huge downhill force, allowing him to distance himself from the alien and Scorpio. On this hero's slope, his Flying War Dragon is the most powerful hero. Brother E shouted loudly. HMPH, it's just a small mechanism. I can catch up quickly at this distance. After the alien landed, it immediately began to chase. Ah, Scorpio. Another Scorpio that landed was about to accelerate, but was stopped by its owner. Chen Huang squatted beside the runway where the Scorpio landed, carefully checking whether the Scorpio was injured in the collision during landing. During the time he wasted, the following cars had already caught up, and the Scorpio, which had just been in the first echelon, immediately fell to the end of the team. Seeing this, Huo Yusheng in front turned around and snorted at Chen Huang. A driver like you really doesn't deserve to own this car. After saying that, he followed the alien and rushed towards the leading flying dragon. The speed of the Flying War Dragon on the downhill track steadily increased due to the tire grip brought by the super downhill force, but behind him, the alien's acceleration ability was even better than Lin Che had imagined, and the distance between it and the Flying War Dragon was gradually shortening. Is the acceleration advantage of large diameter tires so outrageous? Lin Che couldn't help but think to himself when he saw this. Unlike the Flying War Dragon, which relies on downhill force to gain acceleration, the alien's way of dealing with this downhill runway is to directly rely on large diameter tires with grooves to improve grip. Moreover, on this straight downhill section, the maximum speed of large diameter tires is far greater than that of ordinary tires. After all, the tire rotates one circle under the rotation of the motor and gears. The larger the diameter, the longer the circumference, and the distance traveled will naturally be longer. At the same time, the alien is an even more extreme ultra-lightweight design than the Charger. The surface area of the entire body is estimated to be less than half of that of the Charger. Although the exposed tires will increase some wind resistance, this part of the wind is well organized by the small body. The maximum speed of this alien in a straight line is even stronger than that of the Charger. Soon, when they reached the node of the north 7th floor, the distance between the two cars had been closed by the alien. You are really a tough opponent. After the two rushed out of the north 7th floor at the same time, Lin Che couldn't help but smile to Huo Yusheng beside him. I thought my biggest opponent would be the legendary racing car Scorpio. After all, there has always been a legend of Scorpio in Neon. The owner of another Scorpio won all 4 championships in Neon that year. Really? Then I really want to compete with that Scorpio. Huo Yusheng said, instead of the Scorpio behind that has been kept in a greenhouse and is about to be ruined. Between the north 7th floor and the north 6th floor, there is a relatively gentle downhill high-speed curve. The wings of the Flying War Dragon were also folded at this time. Before entering the curve, the alien relied on the advantage of its higher maximum speed to rush ahead of the Flying War Dragon and entered the curve first. After entering the curve, the alien relied on 2 sets of large diameter guide wheels at the front and tail of the vehicle to barely stick to the wall of the curve. Its speed was greatly reduced and the body of the vehicle was shaking constantly. If it were not for the 2 sets of large diameter guide wheels that increased the contact area with the runway wall, this rough cornering technique, which was exactly the same as that of the charged God of War, would have made it fly off the runway long ago. The Flying Dragon's gorgeous wing-turning performance on the curve, which was demonstrated for the first time in front of the Chinese audience, caused the tourists watching the game to exclaim in amazement. What a cool way to corner! Brother E in the helicopter exclaimed, this kind of flexible adjustment of the direction of the downhill force to stabilize the car on the curve is a genius idea. Is this the birthplace of mini racing, the strength of the champion of Japan? The 2 cars returned to the same starting line again. Huo Yusheng had not expected Lin Che to be so difficult to deal with. He gritted his teeth and said, is your car a juggler? Lin Che was about to open his mouth to tease him again, but he heard Brother E's cheering voice again. Scorpio has caught up. It really deserves to be the legendary racing car. Lin Che looked back and found that on the curve behind him, the Scorpio had turned red and was speeding towards him. How can a car that can compete with our 2 super speed cars on the straight line in front have such cornering skills? Lin Che was stunned. The way Scorpio turned corners was neither as rough as the alien, nor as tricky as the Flying War Dragon. Instead, it used the real high-torque racing car's acceleration skills on the curve to quickly pass this high-speed curve. This near-perfect cornering skill can be compared with the sonic god of war Far Away in Neon, but this car was not inferior to the two super-speed cars, the Flying War Dragon and the Alien, on the straight runway at the start. Don't you know? That guy's Scorpio is a balanced racing car that takes into account both straight and curved tracks. The motor and gears are both mediocre choices, but it is able to rely on a near-perfect chassis and body made of high-strength materials. It is not inferior to cars that specialize in one aspect in both straight and curved tracks. Otherwise, how can it be called a legendary racing car? Huo Yusheng looked at the Scorpio chasing after him and explained to Lin Che, but don't worry, Chen Huang will deliver it himself later. The Alien and the Flying Dragon rushed out of the 6th North building side by side and came to the next section of the runway. The next section of the runway was an arched track that went uphill first and then downhill. The Alien and the Flying Dragon's speed stagnated the moment they rushed up the slope. The Flying War Dragon was fine, it just slowed down a bit, but the Alien's speed became as fast as a turtle. The larger the diameter of the wheel hub, the more horsepower was needed to climb the hill. If the gears hadn't been replaced, it would have been a big problem whether it could climb the hill. We've reached the toughest uphill section for super fast trains. The Flying Dragon and Alien, who have been leading the way, have slowed down. Brother E said, if this happens, the Scorpio behind us will catch up. As soon as Brother E finished speaking, the Scorpio, whose body turned purple, flew past the Flying Dragon and the Alien. The uphill slope had little impact on the Scorpio. The Flying War Dragon had just climbed half of the uphill slope when Scorpio reached the highest point and leapt out. Ah! Scorpio! Chen Huang, who was in front of Lin Che, let out another strange cry. He chased after the Scorpio that had landed and stopped it to examine it carefully. Lin Che. What is there to check? The entire Scorpio is made of ZMC material. A collision of this magnitude won't even leave a mark. The Flying War Dragon finally climbed to the top of the slope. After a short leap and landing, it began to accelerate again. When the speed reached a certain level, it spread its wings and flew towards the next city tower. Go! Flying War Dragon. Lin Che ignored Chen Huang who was squatting on the side of the runway checking Scorpio, and shouted at the Flying War Dragon. The Alien is going downhill too fast. If we don't widen the gap while the Alien is still struggling to climb the uphill, it will catch up in no time. If you run like this, the car will be damaged. Chen Huang couldn't help but say as he watched the Flying War Dragon accelerate immediately after landing. What I'm more afraid of than my car getting damaged is not being able to run at full speed. Lin Che said, looking back at Chen Huang's back. Behind him, the Scorpio car soul, who was wearing a sky blue crystal shell, had a look of aggrieved look on his face. What's the point of telling him this? Yao Xiaoman and I have told him this countless times. Huo Yusheng also rushed to the top with the Alien. Scorpio is really unlucky to meet such a master. We've finally finished this full uphill run. Alien, let's go and catch up. Huo Yusheng shouted immediately after seeing Lin Che had already walked far away. On the downhill, the Alien's motor roared and turned into a blue-purple lightning that chased after the Flying War Dragon. The Flying War Dragon in front was ahead, but was caught up by the Alien in the blink of an eye, and the two cars arrived at the North 5th floor node almost at the same time. It's so exciting. The two cars haven't decided the winner yet. It's true that compared to the gorgeous performance of the high-torque racing cars on the corners, the pure speed competition of the super-fast cars is the most heart-pounding. Brother E on the helicopter shouted excitedly. Ha ha ha. A laugh came from beside Lin Che. Lin Che turned around and saw that Huo Yusheng, the cold little cool guy, actually smiled happily, but this laughter seemed a little wild. This is the first time that a human car can compete with an alien to this extent in a straight line. Racing with you is much more interesting than racing with that woman Gao Xiaoman's high-torque racing car. Huo Yusheng looked at Lin Che and said, after the 4th floor of the north where we replaced parts, there won't be a big uphill slope. By then, let's switch back to high-speed gears and see who's better. That's exactly what I meant. Lin Che said without giving in. However, the next level has a sharp turn right after the downhill, and it won't be that easy for your car to pass safely. You don't need to worry about this. Huo Yusheng said. After exiting the 5th floor of the north building, there was another uphill slope. As the two cars were climbing the slope with difficulty, the Scorpio caught up again. Then, it was another familiar scene. Chen Huang began a comprehensive inspection after the Scorpio landed. At this time, Lin Che no longer regarded him as an opponent. It can be seen that except for a traditional hot-blooded idiot like Xiao Hao who was born with the maximum skill of talking, ordinary people really could not make him wake up. Charge! Flying War Dragon! Lin Che shouted after the Flying War Dragon was freed from climbing the slope. The Flying War Dragon spread its wings and accelerated continuously along the runway. The Silver Dragon soul behind Lin Che also responded excitedly. Catch up! Alien! Huo Yusheng followed closely behind, and the alien was quickly closing the distance caused by climbing the slope. The sharp turn following the downhill run is just around the corner. If we enter the corner at that speed, the car will be damaged. Chen Huang, who was still checking the Scorpio behind the two men, reminded them. Go! Flying War Dragon! Lin Che turned a deaf ear to Chen Huang's reminder. The moment the Flying War Dragon entered the turn, the guide wheel and the handlebars integrated with the body of the car were under tremendous pressure. Even if he used the flying wing cornering technique, the guide wheel still rubbed against the runway wall, producing sparks. The alien had a lot of trouble facing this sharp turn. The large diameter guide wheels rubbed against the runway wall with difficulty, the body of the car was shaking violently, and the handlebars were suddenly under tremendous pressure, and cracks began to appear, making it look precarious. Finally, after passing the bend, the strange-shaped chassis handle broke with a click. Alien! Huo Yusheng shouted anxiously. The alien lost its balance and began to zigzag on the runway. Huo Yusheng glanced at the fourth north building less than 30 meters ahead, gritted his teeth and said, Alien, hold on a little longer, we can replace the parts soon. The Flying War Dragon arrived at the supply point on the fourth floor of the north building first. After Lin Che got a new battery from the staff, he began to replace the parts for the Flying War Dragon. After replacing the high-speed gear, Lin Che removed the pressure sensor device on the body of the car. The remaining road sections no longer needed to use the flying wing to turn, and the weight of this pressure sensor device would affect the subsequent sprint with the alien. After finishing all this, Lin Che fastened the car body and whispered, Are you ready? Flying Dragon! Roar! The silver dragon behind Lin Che roared in response. Let's wait for our opponents. Lin Che turned around and looked at Huo Yusheng and the alien who were still struggling to move forward. Although it was extremely dangerous, the alien still reached the supply point on the fourth floor of the north building with difficulty. Change the chassis quickly, don't make me wait too long. Lin Che said to Huo Yusheng who caught the alien. Are all Japanese drivers as pretentious as you? Huo Yusheng saw that Lin Che had not set off for a long time, and understood Lin Che's plan, so he asked with a smile. Speaking of this, there is someone in Japan who is more pretentious than me. Also, be careful with your words, I am Chinese. Lin Che said. Hey, do you want to come to the place where I play with cars in a few days? After Huo Yusheng replaced the chassis of the alien and adjusted the gears, he said to Lin Che before preparing to set off. Okay. Lin Che nodded, then looked at the alien in Huo Yusheng's hand. You've made me wait so long, please don't let me down. As a thank you for waiting for me for so long, I will let you see the full strength of my alien. Huo Yusheng said. The two of them put the car on the track together and let go at the same time. Go! Alien! Charge! Flying Dragon! The Flying War Dragon and the alien rushed out at the same time, running towards the final destination. The two leading cars are setting off again. Brother E on the helicopter saw Lin Che and Huo Yusheng running out of the fourth floor of the north building. The alien was damaged in the sharp turn just now, but it is now intact. It seems that Lin Che was waiting at the supply point for Huo Yusheng to repair the alien. The two super-fast cars are now about to start the second half of the competition. After a brief acceleration, the two cars that had switched back to high-speed gear had freed themselves from the restraints on their bodies. Even the Scorpio, which had a new battery replaced later, could not catch up. The large diameter wheels with special shapes give it an extremely terrifying maximum speed in a purely high-speed configuration, and the Flying Dragon also squeezes the motor to the limit with the help of the downhill force increased by its raised wings. Behind the two of them, a giant silver dragon and a strong demon with bat wings on its back were fighting each other. The fight was fierce and the two cars on the track were moving forward side by side, passing the north third floor and the north second floor. The finish line, the north first floor, was very close, but the two cars were still unable to determine the winner. Come on, alien! Huo Yusheng yelled. Surpass him! Flying War Dragon! Lin Che was not willing to be outdone. We're almost at the finish line. Can the two cars decide the winner? Brother E in the helicopter held his breath and stared at the two racing cars on the track. We've reached the finish line. Brother E waved the black and white checkered flag vigorously. The difference between the two cars is hard to tell with the naked eye. They arrived at the finish line at almost the same time. We can only tell who is the champion of this competition by slow motion. Bu Guo, CK Lin Che de Nao Hai Li Shi Tong de Sheng Yin Yi Shang Le Chi Lai, Gong Shi Su Zhu Huo De Fei Yu Zhong Sheng Bei Guan Jun, Huo De Rong Yu Dian Shu 7 4x 1 plus 20%, Huo Yu Sheng plus 50%, Shean A Wang plus 5%, Shean Xiao Hu. After a while, Brother E's surprised voice came again. What? The two cars are still tied even after slowing down to 0.01 seconds. Both cars tied for the championship. Lin Che did not hear what Brother E said clearly, because at this moment, Lin Che was shocked by Chen Huang's weight in the calculation of honor points. Is this guy so valuable? You know, even Xiao Hao and Xiao Lai can only increase his championship value by 20%. Huo Yusheng should be about the same as them now, but Chen Huang directly increased it by 50%. But is Chen Huang really that strong now? Or does this 50% of his value come entirely from the legendary racing car Scorpio? Hey, it's time to go and receive the award. Seeing Lin Che standing there in a daze, Huo Yusheng reminded him. Oh, here it comes. Lin Che said. In the end, Lin Che and Huo Yusheng won the first place in this competition, while Chen Huang's Scorpio ranked third. After Lin Che received the medal, he also received a coupon for purchasing from a model store, with a face value of 500 yuan. As long as he had this, he could spend money at the largest model store in Beijing, Wangfujing. The runner-up was originally set at 300 yuan, and the third-place winner Chen Huang received 200 yuan. Even Chen Xiaohu, who did not rank, received a participation prize of 50 yuan. This surprised Lin Che very much. Neon competitions do not have such real prizes. Even the champion of the winter competition was dealt with a plastic medal. I will go here to buy parts tomorrow. Do you want to come over too? I will take you to the place where I play with cars. Before leaving, Huo Yusheng said to Lin Che with his 500 yuan coupon. Okay, no problem. Lin Che nodded. This guy is so strong, and the place where he plays with cars must be very interesting. The next day, Lin Che and Chen Xiaohu went out together. After Chen Xiaohu knew that Lin Che had received an invitation from Huo Yusheng, he strongly requested Lin Che to take him with him. Lin Che had no choice but to take him with him. After the two children took the bus to Wangfujing, Chen Xiaohu took Lin Che directly to the largest model shop in Beijing with ease. As soon as he entered the door, a huge advertisement caught Lin Che's attention. The Aries is on sale. So soon. Lin Che looked at the advertisement for the global launch of the Aries on the billboard and was a little surprised. It was sold worldwide. Is Dr. Sachia's business so big? Do you know this car? Chen Xiaohu asked curiously when he saw Lin Che's strange expression. Of course I don't know him. When I was in Neon, the first owner of this type of car lived next door to me. Lin Che said. Really? Chen Xiaohu looked at the price of 49 on the billboard and felt a little itchy. Is this kind of car really great? The power of this car is not how fast it is, but its inclusiveness and potential. Lin Che said, the two brothers who live next door to me got the prototype of the God of War, which is probably much more rudimentary than the one sold here. However, in their hands, they turned it into two completely different cars, and both cars are very powerful. The original Aries is like a blank sheet of paper. How far it can be used depends entirely on its owner. Lin Che said, why, do you want one? Then I'll buy one. I've been using my network hero for more than a year. When I modified it, I felt that its potential has been almost tapped. It's time to buy a new car. Chen Xiaohu nodded. You're here. At this time, Huo Yusheng also came to the door of the model shop and took a look at the billboard that the two were looking at. Aries. Are you planning to change the car? Huo Yusheng said. No, he plans to change the car. Lin Che signaled Chen Xiaohu with his eyes. Hello, Huo Yusheng, you are my idol. Chen Xiaohu said to Huo Yusheng excitedly. This guy knows that I'm coming to see you today, and he's determined to come along no matter what. Lin Che said. Okay, once you've picked out the parts, come with me. Huo Yusheng nodded. Lin Che went into the store and bought a few chassis, 2 new motors, and a few sets of special tire skins. After spending all the 500 vouchers, he and Chen Xiaohu followed Huo Yusheng to the place he mentioned. This was a small garage in an old factory residential area. After Huo Yusheng pulled up the rolling door, Lin Che was shocked by what he saw inside. This garage is not big, about 20 square meters, but Huo Yusheng has arranged it like a real four-wheel drive car research institute. On one side is a test track covering an area of square meters, which is not large but not easy to use. On the other side is a large tool bench. On one wall are all kinds of tools, and on the wall opposite the workbench, there are several pencil drawings hung with thumbtacks. However, the content of the drawings is not an alien, but a brand new racing car under design. There is also a semi-finished car body on the table. Seeing that Lin Che seemed to be interested in his new car, Huo Yusheng said, "That's the new car I'm still designing, the Magic Battle Bat." Lin Che was shocked when he heard this. From the name, it seemed that this car was also from the Zonlong 4WD series. Was there anyone in this world who had the same system as him? Or was this just a coincidence? Lin Che glanced at the hand tools on Huo Yusheng's desk and thought to himself, it shouldn't be a system. If there really was a system, this studio wouldn't be so simple. Although there are many tools here, they are all handmade tools. Is your alien made here? No wonder there are no similar cars on the market. Chen Xiaohu exclaimed as he looked at the dazzling array of tools. No, the alien was not made by myself. My grandfather helped me make it. If I had this skill, the production progress of my new car would not be stuck here. Huo Yusheng shook his head, a little sad on his face. Your grandfather? Lin Che asked curiously. An 8th level fitter at a state-owned machinery factory passed away 3 months ago, Huo Yusheng said. I'm sorry. Lin Che said. At the same time, Lin Che also admired in his heart. If he is an 8th level fitter, then helping Huo Yusheng to rub a mini 4-wheel drive car like the alien is really a piece of cake. If we calculate by age, Huo Yusheng's grandfather is one of the first batch of 8th level workers after the founding of the People's Republic of China. The exquisiteness of his craftsmanship is beyond imagination. It's nothing. Huo Yusheng said, after the battle with your car, I have some new ideas about the magic bat. Huo Yusheng took down a new design and drew a dragon head and phoenix tail on it that was similar to the flying dragon, which was integrated with the car body. Then he said to Lin Che, your design is indeed very advanced. It is equivalent to wrapping the entire chassis in the car body, which greatly reduces the wind resistance of the car. So, I also plan to adopt a similar design. You should know how difficult it is to make this kind of design, right? Lin Che reminded. After the dragon head and phoenix tail are integrated with the body, the strength requirements for the manufacturing materials are much higher than directly using a ready-made chassis, and the production precision requirements are also far higher than using the official standard chassis. The first flying dragon of Lin Che was generated by the system directly using the data he calculated, and the second one was also generated using 3D printing technology. As for making it by hand like Huo Yusheng did, he couldn't do it. How did you make your car? Can you teach me? In exchange, you can take anything from me. Huo Yusheng said sincerely. My car is not made by hand either. Lin Che shook his head. However, I can help you make this car together. However, you have to agree to one condition of mine. Conditions? Huo Yusheng asked curiously. I have some inside information. Next year, the World Mini Racing Association will hold the first Mini 4WD World Cup. Be my teammate and we will win the championship together. Lin Che said, rubbing his hands. Lin Che has been making plans for the WGP Mini Racing World Cup to be held later. The scale and value of this competition are very high. If he can win the championship, the honor he can get is probably beyond his imagination. However, he is still worried about his teammates. This competition is not just about one person's skills, but the level of the entire team. Even a top driver like Brett can't lead those pig teammates including the Jinchuriki in the control room. Originally, Lin Che planned to join the Chinese team's small four-wheel drive walking group in the original novel, but after seeing Chen Huang's poor performance and Huo Yusheng's skills, and learning that there was another person in Shanghai with similar skills to Huo Yusheng, Lin Che suddenly had a new idea. World Cup. Is it true? Huo Yusheng said. Of course it's true. Lin Che said, how about you think about it? I'll go. Huo Yusheng nodded without thinking. It's an opportunity I'd love to have a chance to compete with the best mini racing car experts from all over the world. It's a deal then. Lin Che said, let's work together to get the parameters of this car right. In the next few days, Lin Che moved his computer to Huo Yusheng's studio. After digitizing the drawings of the Magic War Bat, he discussed the details of the car with Huo Yusheng. During this process, Lin Che still mainly followed Huo Yusheng's own opinions. For example, in the tail wing part, Lin Che made a design similar to the dragon wings of the flying war dragon according to Huo Yusheng's requirements. However, unlike the dragon wings that open and close up and down, the bat wings at the tail of the magic war bat are designed to open and close left and right, and are controlled by the pressure sensing device at the guide wheel. When entering a corner at a certain speed, the pressure on the guide wheel will cause the bat wings at the tail wing to open, increasing the contact area with the wind and improving the stability of the car. This design is not as useful on high-speed curves as the Flying Dragon's wing turning method, which changes the direction of downhill force. However, on continuous technical curves where the Flying Dragon has no good solution, this design can minimize the possibility of this super high-speed car running away. As the days passed, Lin Che spent the 1997 Chinese New Year at home. On the fifth day of the new year, Lin Che took Huo Yusheng to a research room he had asked his grandfather for. Lin Che took out his 3D printing equipment in advance and installed it there. Are you sure you want to design it this way? Lin Che asked before starting the machine. It will be troublesome if you want to modify it later. That's it. Haven't we calculated all the parameters together? The current magic war bat is the optimal solution under the current conditions. Huo Yusheng said. Then I'll start. Lin Che pressed the button to start the machine, and the 3D printer started working. Are you going to Neon soon? Huo Yusheng asked while waiting for the machine to be completed. Yes, we're leaving tomorrow. My dad's work there has been delayed for almost a month. I guess he won't be able to wait until you adjust the motor and gears before competing with your car. Lin Che said with some regret. Will you return to China for this year's national competition? Huo Yusheng asked. I should be back, Lin Che nodded. After all, there are only 2 of us in our team right now, and we still have to look for other teammates in the national competition. In recent years, China's national Mini 11 WD competitions have all been scheduled for November, while Japan's Super Cup national competition is scheduled for the end of October. There is plenty of time, as long as he returns to China during the summer vacation to participate in a provincial trial and qualify. Then let's have a good fight then. Huo Yusheng nodded. By the way, please help take care of my friend. Lin Che said to Huo Yusheng. Chen Xiaohu. Huo Yusheng asked. Yes, his skills are actually very good, and his idea of modifying the car is also rare among pure torque players. Although this type of car generally does not perform well in individual competitions, it is a very good supporting player in team competitions. Lin Che said. Okay, I understand. Huo Yusheng nodded in agreement. The two chatted casually, and 2 hours later, Huo Yusheng left the laboratory with the body of the magic war bat. Lin Che also cleaned up the laboratory, put the 3D printer back into the system, and went home. The next day, Lin Che and his family boarded a plane to Neon. As soon as Lin Che got home, he wanted to go play with the 2 brothers next door, but he was forced by his parents to help with cleaning at home. They didn't finish the work until it was dark. The 2 brothers next door who had been playing outside all day saw that the lights in Lin Che's house were on, so Xiaolai pulled Xiaohao over to find them. Ake, you're back, Xiaoli said. Yeah, hey, what's wrong with Xiaohao? Lin Che couldn't help asking when he saw Xiaohao behind Xiaoli looking dejected. This is the first time that Lin Che has seen Little Hao like this. The Little Hao before was so energetic. Maybe it's because I lost the game. Xiaolai said helplessly, since I participated in the Fujiyoshi Cup held by Fujiyoshi and flew off the track at the bend, Xiaohao has not finished the entire race in any of the small competitions he has participated in recently. That's not necessary. Lin Che said embarrassedly. It's because you, Che, helped us rebuild the body of the Aries with new materials, so the weight of the car was greatly reduced. I reminded Xiaohao to use the reduced weight space to install some accessories to improve stability, but Xiaohao didn't listen to me for the sake of the maximum speed. Xiaolai shrugged helplessly. Okay, brother. I've decided. I want to transform the charge god of war. Improve his stability. Xiaohao came back to his senses and seemed to have made an incredible decision. He said to Xiaolai and Lin Che, so, brother, Che, help me with special training for the upcoming spring season. Since you said so, then fine. Lin Che nodded, but thought to himself, so Xiaohao still hasn't learned the tornado's ultimate move. I thought he would be able to comprehend it sooner after I helped him strengthen a wave of cars. The next morning, Lin Che went to the Zuo Sheng model shop with the 2 brothers next door. Xiao Che, you're back. Uncle Zuo Sheng greeted Lin Che with a smile after seeing him for a long time. By the way, Happy New Year. New Year. Xiaochen, who was standing behind Uncle Sakami, asked curiously, didn't the new year pass a long time ago? Dad, your congratulations are a little late. That's not true, Xiaochen. Lin Chejin is a Chinese. For them, the Lunar New Year is the real New Year. Uncle Zuo Sheng explained to his daughter. Really? Xiaochen nodded, then Happy New Year, Lin Chejin. Xiaochen said. Thank you. Lin Che responded with a smile. Okay, uncle, please open the door quickly. I want to buy parts to strengthen the charge god of war. Xiao Hao urged. Okay. Uncle Sakami nodded with a smile. Uncle Sakami opened the shop door, and Xiao Hao went straight to the parts area and came to the accessories area of high-torque racing cars. After looking around, he looked at his brother with a look for help. There was no way, Xiao Hao only understood the performance of high-speed parts, and knew nothing about other parts. Xiao Lai had no choice but to start introducing the functions of these parts to his brother. After listening to Xiao Lai's popular science, Xiao Hao quickly picked out a lot of cornering parts. Xiao Lai's eyebrows jumped and he asked, you picked so many parts, do you have so much money? Upon hearing this, Xiao Hao subconsciously touched his trouser pocket and found that there were only a few hundred coins in it. He felt a little embarrassed. Don't worry about that. Just then, a cocky voice came from behind everyone. Everyone turned around and saw Fujiyoshi walking slowly towards them, waving a paper fan. I'll buy all the parts in this store. Xiao Hao, you can use whichever one you want. Boss, can I pay by credit card? Fujiyoshi took out a black card and said to Uncle Sakami. Uncle Sakami. Sure, sir, please follow me. Before Uncle Sakami could say anything, Xiaochen's eyes were full of golden stars and she pulled Fujiyoshi to the counter. And the moment Fujiyoshi saw Xiaojun, a special light shone in his eyes. He stood up straight in an instant, and all the comedic look on his face disappeared in an instant. What a cute girl, Fujiyoshi thought. After seeing this scene, Lin Che couldn't help but complain in his heart, so is this long chain of secret love about to begin? In the original work, Fujiyoshi likes Xiaochen, Xiaochen likes Xiao Hao likes Fujiyoshi's sister Chiko, and Chiko has been infatuated with her brother Xiaoli since childhood. The only thing missing is for Xiaoli to awaken some strange attribute to complete the loop. Xiao Hao was completely unaware of all this. After Fujiyoshi activated his money ability, Xiao Hao, with the help of a rich friend of mine, began his transformation without stopping. Then, the charging god of war was completely changed in his hands. Xiao Hao directly installed 3 sets of guide wheels at the front, middle and rear of the charge god of war. Including the pair that came with the body, there are 4 sets of guide wheels in total. After the modification was completed, Xiao Hao couldn't wait to put the car on the runway of the Sakami model shop. The car started, and the charge god of war passed the curve smoothly, but in the subsequent straight section, it was as slow as a turtle. How could this happen? Xiao Hao scratched his head. Aren't you talking nonsense? The 6 sets of metal guide wheels plus the metal dragon head and phoenix tail mid-car bracket, the combined weight of these things is almost as heavy as the original weight of the 2 assault war gods. Can such weight be driven by a super high-speed motor with insufficient torque? Lin Che reminded. Never mind, I don't want the charge god of war to become so slow. Xiao Hao quickly removed all the accessories he had just installed and put the charge god of war on the runway again. As expected, the charging god of war drove again. Xiao Hao, your charge god of war is too extreme. Of course this will happen with your configuration that only cares about speed and stability. You should replace the gears with balanced gears with a larger gear ratio, and then change the angle of the tail wing. Xiao Lai suggested. Or you can add some weight to the car body and replace the guide wheels with larger diameter ones. I can help you with that, Fujiyoshi suggested. But, this will greatly affect the speed of the charge god of war. Uncle Sakami said, by the way, Xiao Hao, why do you want to ask your brother and Fujiyoshi, who are drivers who focus on torque configuration, for advice on this issue? How to solve the problem of the car's stability on the curve? Wouldn't it be better to ask Lin Chejin, who has a super high-speed car like yours, for advice? Yes. Xiao Hao pounded his palm fiercely, then looked at Lin Che. Che, what do you think I should do? Don't think you can do whatever you want. The charging god of war can't learn the flying war dragon's way of turning. Lin Che smiled helplessly. Yeah, that variable tail wing charging god of war is very difficult to copy. Xiao Hao said dejectedly. Xiao Hao, the spring season is about to begin. If you still can't think of a solution, it will be difficult to get a good ranking in the spring season if the charging god of war always flies off the track. Xiao Lai reminded. Ah. Xiao Hao scratched his head and said madly. Or, just let the car fly. Lin Che couldn't help but remind him. Flying away. Xiao Hao sat up in surprise when he heard that. Yes, no matter it was in the downhill competition before, or the time when you and Aaron went to the sewer to commit suicide, when you crossed the finish line at the end, didn't your charging god of war fly over? Just like a bullet. Lin Che said. But those are all straight runways. Xiao Hao said. What I mean is, the charging god of war will fly off the runway at the bend anyway, so why not just let him fly longer, from one straight line to the next straight line? Lin Che said. Are you kidding? How can you run like that? Tengji chuckled, thinking that Lin Che was teasing Xiao Hao. Let the car fly longer. Xiao Hao fell into deep thought. At this time, Xiaochen came out from the room behind the store holding a pair of baseball equipment. I'm going to play baseball, do you want to come with me? Baseball. I love playing baseball the most. Fujiyoshi immediately came over and said. But Xiaochen ignored Fujiyoshi's courtesy and went straight to Xiao Hao, and threw a pair of gloves to him domineeringly. Come with me, Xiao Hao, we really need you for today's game. Ah. Why? Fujiyoshi didn't understand how a fool like Xiao Hao could be of any help to the baseball game. He didn't look like he was very good at playing baseball. Because he runs fast. Xiaochen said, everyone on the team feels relieved to have Xiao Hao as an outfielder. But, I want to modify the charge god of war. Xiao Hao's main point is that a woman will only affect the speed of my car. Baseball. Can I be included? It seems very interesting. I have never played baseball in China. Lin Che was also very interested. No matter which life he was in, Lin Che's understanding of baseball was only about Nobi to Nobi, the scoring black hole of the Fat Tiger baseball team, and Danzi's 2-year baseball career as the god of basketball. As for playing baseball, he didn't even know the rules. In that case, let's go together. Xiao Lai said. But, brother. Xiao Hao wanted to refuse, but Xiao Lai said directly. No matter how hard you think about it, you won't come up with a good solution. It's better to change your mood. Xiao Lai said. Just like that, the group headed towards the baseball field not far from the model shop. Fujiyoshi even called Hikosaku to ask him to send a lot of equipment to everyone. Today's game is a baseball match between Fengche Primary School and the primary school in the neighboring county. As the only strong player in the team, Xiaochen has no problem bringing a few friends to participate in the game. What's more, Xiao Hao has a record of participating as an outfielder before, and Xiaoli was once the top hitter of this team. Fujiyoshi, as a Japanese kid, also knows a lot about baseball. The only one who knows nothing about baseball is Lin Che. The game went on quickly. Ace pitcher Jun Sagami struck out several unlucky guys in a row to give the team a lead. At this time, in order to consider the gaming experience of Lin Che, a beginner, Xiaolai suggested letting Lin Che go up and try to hit a few bats. Che, you will be on the field in a while. Xiaolai arranged and briefly introduced to Lin Che what a batter should do, and also introduced the difference between a good ball and a bad ball. So, all I have to do is hit the strike ball and then run to first base, right? Lin Che nodded, eager to try. Soon, Lin Che stood in the batting box holding the bat, staring at the opposing pitcher intently. The opposing pitcher's move was smooth and the ball flew over. With the help of his physical fitness that had been fully enhanced by the system, Lin Che quickly determined that this was a good ball. He swung the bat vigorously, and in the surprised eyes of everyone, Lin Che hit a home run. After Lin Che ran all the bases, he scored a point for the team. In the second half, because the advantage was huge and Xiaochen was a little tired from pitching, Xiaochen suggested to Lin Che whether he should try throwing a few balls, and Lin Che readily agreed. However, unlike batting, which depends on luck, pitching is all about skill. A pure newcomer like Lin Che was simply giving away points, and after giving away a few points, Lin Che was replaced. Why is this happening? I'm obviously stronger than Xiaochen, so how come they can react to my ball? Lin Che said. This is a matter of pitching technique. The ball thrown by Xiaochen has rotation, so the speed will naturally be faster. Xiaoli explained to Lin Che. At this moment, Xiao Hao, who was absent-minded, suddenly reacted, spin. Seeing this, Lin Che smiled knowingly and thought, have you finally realized it? I know. Xiao Hao excitedly pounded his palm, then pulled Lin Che and ran out of the court. Come with me, Che. Xiao Hao. Xiao Hao's sudden shout as if he was having a seizure caught Xiao Lai off guard. I know how the charging god of war should run. Xiao Hao's excited shout echoed throughout the stadium. Hey, slow down. Lin Che was pulled by Xiao Hao and couldn't help but remind him. Hurry, hurry, Ah Che, I can't wait any longer. Where are we going? Lin Che asked. Let's go directly to your house. Your runway should be able to support the charged god of war to try flying. Xiao Hao said. After Lin Che and Xiao Hao returned home, as soon as Lin Che opened the door to the yard, Xiao Hao couldn't wait to run to the starting point of the track. By the way, Ach, do you have a way to make the charged god of war spin in the air? Xiao Hao asked Lin Che before letting the charged god of war set off. As for rotation, your charge war god can actually do it now. Lin Che said, because your charge war god is light enough, it can't handle the centrifugal force caused by the high speed when turning, so it will fly out. When in the air, this centrifugal force will become the force that makes the car rotate. Didn't you observe the charge war god's appearance when it rushed out of the runway? Ah, Xiao Hao scratched his head awkwardly. The car flew off the runway, and the first thing I thought of was to catch it quickly, otherwise what if it got damaged? How could I have the energy to observe how the charged god of war flew? But it's good this way. It saves me the trouble of having to figure out how to make it turn. Xiao Hao excitedly put the car at the starting point and let go. Charge god of war. After charge god of war started running, Xiao Hao chased after him immediately. Seeing this, Lin Che also followed. He didn't want to miss this moment of witnessing history. The charging god of war completed the acceleration on the straight track in the front yard and rushed at full speed towards the first sharp turn where Xiao Hao would overturn every time. The moment the guide wheel touched the runway wall, the centrifugal force brought by the high speed caused the charged god of war, which had neither weight nor any downhill force, to begin to shake. A few seconds later, the charged god of war flew sideways off the runway as expected. Now, turn around. Charge, god of war. Xiao Hao shouted. As if it had heard its master's call, the charging god of war flying in the air began to spin continuously, and Lin Che saw with his own eyes that the soul of the wilderness escort car behind Xiao Hao raised its revolver, aimed at the long straight runway on the second floor and fired a shot. The bullet slowly merged with the figure of the charging god of war that was spinning continuously in the air. The blue and red paint on the charging god of war looked like a burning bullet during the high-speed rotation. As the phantom of the bullet hit the target, the charged god of war also landed steadily on the long straight runway on the second floor. After shaking a few times to remove the kinetic energy of the collision, the charged god of war began to accelerate again, and the charged god of war directly bypassed a long series of troublesome high-speed curves. Success! Xiao Hao said excitedly with his fist clenched. Lin Che couldn't help but blurt out the traditional Chinese medicine. Although he had long known that the charged god of war had this potential, the shock of seeing this scene with his own eyes still exceeded Lin Che's imagination. Lin Che was a little confused. It was not difficult to make the car fly while spinning, but how did he manage to control the landing point so accurately? For the first time, the charged god of war completed the track at Lin Che's home at a full sprint, with a time of 3 minutes and 13 seconds, which was 3 seconds faster than the last time Lin Che tested the flying war dragon. After all, the charged god of war avoided a long series of bends. Ha ha ha. Xiao Hao picked up the charged god of war, put his hands on his hips and laughed. Ache! Did you see that? This is my charged god's special move. With this move, my charged god will never lose to you again. Xiao Hao's eyes were full of excitement. What should I call it? Charge spin. Forget it, that doesn't sound very good. Super invincible flying running. That sounds too stupid. Xiao Hao suddenly found it difficult to come up with a name. Let's call it the charging god of war tornado. After all, the rotating posture is very much like a tornado. Lin Che said on the side. Tornado. Xiao Hao nodded. Okay, let's call it the charging god of war tornado. By the way, Ah Che, do me a favor, don't tell my brother and Tengji and the others about this move. Xiao Hao laughed. What do you want to do? Lin Che asked puzzled. Of course it's to give them a surprise in the spring game. Xiao Hao laughed, probably imagining the scene of him killing everyone in the spring game. Xiao Hao. Ache. Xiao Li's voice came from outside the yard. Lin Che went to open the gate for Xiaoli. When Xiaoli saw Xiao Hao, he looked helpless. I knew you were here. Go back quickly. Mom has prepared dinner and is waiting for you to go back. If you don't go back, she will be angry. If she is angry, your pocket money will be gone again. Okay, here I come. Xiao Hao, who had developed a special skill, was in a very happy mood, completely different from the bitter-faced man he was a few days ago. What happened? Why is he so happy? Xiao Li asked curiously. I found the way the charged god of war turns. That's a super powerful trick, Xiao Hao said. I won't lose to you guys in the next spring game. Secret weapon. What is it? Xiao Lai frowned when he heard that and looked at Lin Che with a questioning look. Hee hee, I won't tell you. It's a secret, right, Ah Che? Xiao Hao said. Lin Che spread his hands and shrugged. This kid plans to give you another surprise in the spring season, but what is certain is that this is indeed a very powerful trick. What? So mysterious? Xiao Lai complained. Let's go. Let's go home for dinner. Xiao Hao pushed Xiao Lai out of Lin Che's yard. After seeing off the two brothers next door, Lin Che went to the backyard and looked at the few traces left by the charging war tornado on his own runway. After thinking about it, he also took out his own flying war dragon. Facing the complete form of the charged god of war, the spring season champion in the original book, Lin Che was unsure about the current flying war dragon's chances of winning. However, before the game, Lin Che still had time to make the charged god of war faster. However, after taking a look at the current flying war dragon, Lin Che felt that the current flying war dragon's potential might have reached its limit. After the spring season, he would have to start making a new car. If the current flying war dragon wanted to improve, he could only reduce some details. After returning to his room, Lin Che called Teng Ji. Yes, I'm Lin Che. Can I borrow your laboratory? I want to do something. What is that? Can't Uncle Lin's laboratory make it? Teng Ji was a little curious about what Lin Che wanted to make. Some small parts. Because the material needed is aluminum alloy, I came to you directly. After all, the aluminum alloy of the Three Kingdoms group is the best in Japan. As for why he turned to Fujiyoshi instead of his own father, it was of course because what he wanted to do was not within the scope of his own research. The last time he learned that his company was the world's #1 drone brand, Lin Che went to find out about the research scope of his own Lin's technology. He was shocked to find out that Lin's technology, Lin's company, has products covering many fields such as military industry, machinery, semiconductors, etc., and is a world giant in the field of drones and semiconductors. This is thanks to Lin Che's grandmother, who was one of the earliest scientists to return to China, and his father, who was a genius in his growth. After reading his biological father's resume, Lin Che was a little suspicious whether Lin Yuan brought a system. His biological father, Lin Yuan, was admitted to Shuimu University at the age of 15, went to MIT at the age of 17, graduated with a doctorate at the age of 21 and returned to China to take over his own company's laboratory, promoting the transformation of Lin's technology from the heavy industry to the high-tech field. In just 10 years, Lin Yuan made Lin Technology's high-tech products internationally famous. Sangguo Heavy Industries is more focused on industrial products and materials. Their research on aluminum alloys is far ahead of the world. What Lin Che wants to make this time is a set of aluminum alloy ball bearings. Currently, this kind of thing may only be made by Sangguo Heavy Industries. If it is stainless steel bearings, his own factory in China can also make it, but the weight of stainless steel bearings is too heavy. After hearing Lin Che's idea, Teng Ji generously said that he would send a car to pick up Lin Che and take him to Sangguo Heavy Industry early tomorrow morning. The next morning, a long luxury car stopped at the door of Lin Che's house. Yan Zuo, dressed meticulously, stood in front of the open car door. When he saw Lin Che, he bowed and saluted. Master Lin Che, please come this way. There's no need to be so exaggerated. Also, is it okay if you're not with Fujiyoshi? Lin Che said as he got into the car after returning the gift. To be honest, Lin Che had never enjoyed such treatment even in China. You are a distinguished guest of the Three Kingdoms group. These arrangements are as they should be. They were arranged by Master Teng Ji himself. After getting in the car, Yan Zuo first signaled the driver to drive, and then asked, I wonder if Master Lin Che has had breakfast. If not, enjoy it in the car. We have prepared a Chinese breakfast for you, fried dough sticks and tofu brain. Thank you. Lin Che nodded. Yan Zuo brought out a plate of fried dough sticks from the incubator nearby, and then asked, do you want sweet or salty tofu pudding? You Chinese people seem to care a lot about this, so I prepared both. It's salty, right? Lin Che held his forehead with his hand. When Lin Che watched the animation in his previous life, he felt that Fujiyoshi's butler Yan Zuo was really awesome. He was an all-rounder. He could fly a plane into the sky and go into the kitchen to cook. He was comparable to Alfred beside Batman. Now that he had seen the real person, he felt that he was even more unfathomable. Yan Zuo served Lin Che some tofu pudding with mushroom and egg sauce. After Lin Che finished eating, the car arrived at the Research Institute of Sangguo Heavy Industries. Lin Che, I've been waiting for you for a long time. As soon as he got off the car, Tengji came over and pulled Lin Che towards the research institute. You should have decided what kind of bearings you want, Fujiyoshi asked. 4 620 bearings and 5 bearings. Lin Che said. The numbers in the bearing model refer to the outer diameter and inner diameter of the bearing. Taking the 620 bearing as an example, the outer diameter of this bearing is 6 mm and the inner diameter is 2 mm. I understand. After the staff behind the two learned of Lin Che's request, they immediately gave an order, please wait a moment. Wait, make one for me too. Fujiyoshi turned to him and said. If you want to make your car, in addition to the 4 620 bearings, you can just make a 520 bearing. Lin Che suggested to Fujiyoshi, I plan to install the 4 bearings on the guide wheel, but your lightning running method with the speed axe does not require this kind of guide wheel, so there is no need to add more weight. That's true. Fujiyoshi nodded and said to the staff behind him, just do as he says. After the other people in the laboratory left, Lin Che disassembled the flying war dragon and picked up the chassis. Not many mini four-wheel drive drivers in this world use ball bearings, and the standard chassis sold outside don't even have bearing holes, so Lin Che had to grind it himself. What are you doing? Fujiyoshi asked curiously. Making the bearing hole. By the way, you should have a spirit level and a drilling machine, Lin Che asked. Yes. Fujiyoshi nodded, then called someone to have the items delivered. After Lin Che completed the preparatory work, he began to modify the chassis. After noticing the location of Lin Che's drilling, Tengji also understood what Lin Che was going to do with the ball bearings, so he asked, are you going to use the ball bearings to fix the axle? Yes, in this way, the reduced friction can reduce the loss of kinetic energy during the transmission process, which will greatly increase the speed of the car. Lin Che said. Really? Then I want one too. After seeing Lin Che finished polishing the chassis, Fujiyoshi disassembled the speedy axe. However, he looked at the aluminum alloy chassis of the speedy axe and didn't know where to start. You'd better rebuild the chassis and leave 6 mm of space at the axle. Lin Che said helplessly upon seeing this. That's all we can do. Fujiyoshi said, by the way, why did you suddenly think of making this thing? You don't know, Xiao Hao's charge god of war really gave him some amazing tricks, which put me under a lot of pressure. Lin Che complained. Really? Fujiyoshi became interested. What kind of trick is it? That guy asked me to keep it a secret for him. Lin Che shook his head. But you just need to know that the current charge god of war will no longer be troubled by bends. You mean he's not afraid of bends anymore? He changed the motor and gears. Fujiyoshi asked in surprise. No. Lin Che said, it's still the original super high-speed configuration. That's really unbelievable. However, if his car can solve the problem of cornering, then with the speed of the charge god of war, he will indeed be a very formidable opponent. Fujiyoshi said seriously, however, with the help of this bearing, my speed axe should be able to increase a lot of straight line speed. I am really looking forward to the upcoming spring competition more and more. The final championship will definitely be mine. You are really confident. Lin Che said. After opening the hole for the chassis, Lin Che began to modify the guide wheel and transition gear, drilling a 5 mm hole for them to accommodate the ball bearing. Give me your transition gear, and I will make it for you as well. That's the end of part 2. Part 3 is coming soon.
Thanks for watching. Please subscribe and support our channel for more stories.